Bring to order the May 8th meeting of the Tiverton Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor Janick?
Present.
Councilor Edwards?
Present.
Councilor deMedeiros?
Present.
Councilor Burk?
Present.
Councilors Perry and Milbourne are absent.
Recognizing Emergency Medical Service EMS Week, May 21st through the 27th, 2023. To designate the week of May 21st through the 27th, 2023 as Emergency Medical Service Week, whereas emergency medical service is a vital public service, whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical service has grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical service system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nursing, emergency nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-health medical care providers. And whereas the members of emergency medical service teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continued education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and accomplishments of emergency medical services provided by designating Emergency Service Medical Week now. Therefore, I, Denise deMedeiros, President of the Tiverton Town Council of Tiverton, Rhode Island, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through the 27th as Emergency Medical Service Week. With the EMS strong theme, EMS Week, where emergency care begins, I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. I need a vote to accept this.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further response? All those in favor? Thank you. Consent agenda. Approval of Town Council minutes, April 17th, special meeting, Councilor Milbourne and Perry absent, abstain. April 22nd, special meeting, Councilor Perry abstains, absent. April 24th, regular meeting, Councilor Edwards, Milbourne and Perry abstain, absent. April 24th, executive session, Councilors Edward, Milbourne, and Perry absent, and it's Edwards the 5th, because there's two of them. Acknowledge receipt of correspondence, Historical Cemetery Commission, Stone Church Cemetery cleanup, Greater Newport Chamber of Commerce, Excellence in Business Awards, Harbor and Coastal Waters Commission, endorsement of HB 5037, Robert D. Watt, Jr., Golden Rule Peace Ship, request to consider welcome resolution, Town of Hopkins, resolution in support of FY24 proposed infrastructure funds. Would any of the council like to take anything off the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Yes.
4B2.
4B2. Anyone else?
Motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any further comments? All those in favor? Councilor Edwards, 4B2.
Thank you. I just want to call out, because one of our businesses in the town of Tiverton is one of the recipients of the award, McRae's Seafood. So congratulations to Mike Napolitano and the whole team over at McRae's. And I just wanted to make that announcement publicly. So with that, I'll make a motion to approve 4B2.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Public comments, do I have any, Joan? Okay. Appointments and resignations, discussion and possible vote, acknowledge a resignation, Stephen P. Rice from Recycling Landfill Committee effective 4/14/2023. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept his resignation with regret and thank him for his many years of service.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made in second.
Discussion?
Discussion?
So I think this takes the number of members on the Recycling Landfill Committee down to 1.
Yes.
Plus the council representative, so we probably should talk about this at a future meeting as to how we boost participation.
We talked about this at the agenda meeting, and I'm waiting for Chris to come back in town, because the Recycling Landfill Committee for the last several years have talked plans on the landfill closure, recycling, and I'm not quite sure if we need this committee anymore, or if we do, we need further goals for them. So I was going to talk to Chris and put it on the next agenda.
Perfect.
Okay. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Okay. Appointment to the Board of Canvassers, Republican alternate position, 6-year term, ending 10/15/2024. Is Mark Constance here?
No, he's not here. Let me go first.
Want to say something? Nancy? Yes. You're here. Haven't seen you in a while.
I know.
Want to say something now?
Whenever you're done.
Do you
So,
want me to interview? Hi, Nance.
hello. Just to clarify, I sent Mark an email, because it was my recollection when I was on the town council that we would take the first choice unless there was a reason not to. So I know his name was first, and.
Well, that's what I was wondering,
Right,
because
so he did email me back, and first of all, he's out of town, but secondly, he wants to have his name withdrawn, so.
Okay. Well, that's what I was wondering, because usually the head of the committee calls me and tells me who's first. So I wasn't sure
Right.
if this was in order, because so he wants to withdraw.
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't think the other three on the list are coming up, so you have one candidate.
All right, Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Have you ever served on the council before?
Well, I think everybody knows, but yes, I've been very involved in Tiverton. And I've been on the budget committee, I was on the town council, I was on the charter review commission, and I guess my first foray was with the changing the financial town meeting to the financial town referendum.
Didn't we have more names on this?
No,
No?
no, we originally had 3, and then you got the other 2.
That's right, Mike?
So, Nancy, thank you.
Yes.
What do you see as the role of the canvassers?
Well, reviewing the charter and my understanding, it's to monitor elections, monitor, I actually checked with Deborah because I wasn't sure if we actually were the ones in charge of making sure the voting list is accurate. And I guess the town clerk is primarily responsible, but that's something we also oversee. Doing ballot, picking ballot, 1, 2, or 3, that kind of thing.
So, I mean, I think, and I appreciate that, I think it's, for myself, it's a very fundamental position
I
in
agree.
government
I
to
agree.
ensure that everybody has a fair opportunity to exercise their right to vote. So I want to ask a question, it's going to probably throw people off, but I think it's a necessary question in these times. So, and I think this gets to the root of a person's thought process. Do you think Joe Biden was legally elected president?
Do I think he was, I think the voters put him in, yes. Do I think there was other stuff going on with voting machines? Yes. That's all I can say. I don't think Joe Biden was involved in it. I'm not accusing him.
So he was legally elected president.
I think he got more votes than Trump.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So Nancy, you're saying, well, I know Rob's not here, or Justin.
I
And John,
talked to Justin, he,
okay, how about John Moran?
I
No.
have not spoken to him, but he's not here.
Nancy, we sent it out that everyone,
Alan's here, if you want to ask Alan.
I'm saying Nancy, but you know who I mean, Joe.
She contacted the chairman of the committee to reach out to the staff, his people.
All right.
Alan, the others are not interested?
At this point, I don't think so. no.
Okay.
That was the list, the original list.
Okay. All right, thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'd like to-
Thank you, Nancy. No, I just.
I
wanna
did
say
thank
thank
her.
you.
Oh, all right.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, Nancy. We all know what it's like to be the only one volunteering, so. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the appointment of Nancy Driggs as the Republican alternate position for a 6-year term ending 10/15/2024 to the Board of Canvassers.
Second.
I have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Congratulations, I think, Nancy.
thank you, Nancy.
Newport and Bristol County Convention and Visitors Bureau, per Rhode Island General Law 42105-2V, Tiverton Representative, 3-year term, 1 vacancy, Meredith Brower, 930 Punkatest Neck Road, request appointment, 9/30/2023. Is Meredith here?
Yep.
Oh, there you are. I saw your truck out there, but I didn't see you. Meredith, just tell us why you would like to do this.
The vacancy was open, and as a member of the Four Corners Merchant Association, a business owner, long life living here, resident, to be able to connect the travel and tourism, all the information coming down the pipeline as far as events, grants, opportunities for businesses, I think that would be a great connection, so I could bring that. I'm also working with the EDC.
You'll be working very
Yeah,
closely with them
yeah,
if you take
right.
this position.
So I think it's a great connection.
Any questions for Meredith?
Madam President,
Yes.
not a question, but just looked at your resume, and I think you'd be a perfect candidate to fill this role.
So I'd like to, any other questions?
No, just what
thank you.
John said. I think you'd be great for this.
Yeah,
role.
I'm very thankful you did apply. The last person we had was very good. I had hopes that she'd stay. but-
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Motion, Madam President?
Yes.
I'd like to move the appointment of Meredith Brower of 930 Punkatest Neck Road for a term ending 9/30/2023 to the Newport and Bristol County Convention and Visitors Bureau for the town of Tiverton.
Second discussion. Don't we have to waive our policy to appoint tonight?
Not for,
It's not a committee.
it's not a committee. I don't think for this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
If
I
only our
think it-
solicitor knew how to change a tire.
Yeah. John, I
don't
wasn't
think
going
that's
to
in his
mention
job
that.
description, right?
I'm not going to let that die.
So just to be careful about it, I'll add also to waive our policy
Yeah.
to the motion.
Second.
I don't think we have to do it for this position, but yeah, Mike's right. Okay, so I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, Meredith.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Meredith.
Okay, Public Safety Complex Committee, 5-member board, 5 vacancies. So we interviewed,
Before you start, the chief just texted me and said he's not feeling well. so
yeah,
I
you texted
apologize,
me
okay?
earlier today. The police chief isn't well tonight, so he's not attending. I did want his input eventually, though, after these. So what I said last time, and I thought everyone agreed with me, was once we interview all 6, that I would like some input from the police chief on who he would like to appoint. And I don't know if you all agree with that. And I also need a town councilor to be on this, which I'm I've kind of volunteered John, but,
I was under the impression that I was already on it.
yeah, well, we have to vote for that.
We felt we'd wait for you to
Yeah.
come back.
All right, so, David Turchet, 65 Knotty Pine Road, request appointment is David here. Hi, David.
Turquetta.
Oh,
CH
well,
is a K.
I always mess up.
I know.
I'm sorry. So tell us a little bit about you and why you would like to be on this committee.
I've been a resident of Tiverton for 12 years. I've practiced law, real estate law in Norwood, Massachusetts for 29 and some odd years. I'm on the board of directors at the Norwood Cooperative Bank, which is now known as One Local, and I was intimately involved when the town of Norwood constructed their combination fire, police, public safety complex. So as a resident, I kind of felt like it was time to step up and offer a little expertise.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Mike,
I
anything?
don't think so. Thank you.
Thank
coming
you for
forward.
stepping up. We love fresh blood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Parrott, 111 Harbor Ridge Road, Lane, request appointment 8/1/2023. Hello.
Hello.
We like the same music you told me in the parking lot
Yeah, I
today.
could hear it on you.
Tell us a little bit about you, Robert.
I've lived here in town for 44 years. It's a long time. I've been in the construction business in one form or another since I was 19 years old. And I worked at the Navy base for Navy Facility Engineering Command. Started out as an electrician, had some stints in the contracting office. Ultimately, at the end of 30 years, my last 7 years, I was the head of the production division, which oversaw in-house construction, some contracts, utilities, transportation, crane inspections, et cetera. And I figured I'd offer my services, pay a little back to the town other than just taxes.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Parrott?
So my only question is related to, and I'm trying to look up what we set as the timeline for this.
I know.
You're out of town 3 months of the year?
Yes,
Okay. Just give me,
but there's always, Zoom.
we can't do these meetings on Zoom.
Yeah,
They're
not
public.
if
During the height of the pandemic, we could, but that was ended. The Zoom meetings were ended about a year or so ago.
So it's usually February, March, and April.
I think, is this a sunset fall?
Well, we haven't decided when we're going to start and how long it's going to last.
Did we not?
You know, I didn't put an appointment at the time.
No later than August 1st to have recommendations to us. So I think we're good, even if it gets extended. I think we're good.
Even if it gets pushed. it
Yeah.
should be all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions, Deb?
So have you been involved in any public safety, construction, or renovations?
Yes, because our in-house maintenance force maintained the public safety. We've actually had some interesting stuff. We have a new, I've been retired 11 years, so it was new 11 years ago, new fire safety complex on the base. I wasn't directly involved, but I was certainly directly involved with all the old fire stations and police stations, which, with asbestos and all that stuff was very challenging until they built the new facility. So I've been involved in those ways.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anything else? Thank you very much. Do you all agree with me that we should take a pause in this and appoint next
Yes.
meeting?
Yeah, because we already
Well,
said we're going to have
Patrick.
Jones weigh in.
So we'll keep them on the edges of their seats for a little bit longer.
Yeah. And I just think that we need input from the chief and the person we're going to appoint next.
Madam President, we did receive another application for this committee.
The deadline was,
There's no deadline.
there was no, okay, that's why I'm asking.
So we do have one more application. Didn't make it on the agenda.
Okay. Okay,
So she should share that with the chief now so that we can interview that person next week
yeah, we
and
should
then come to
probably
a
share
decision.
that with the chief. Okay, so the next thing is Public Safety Complex Committee, appointment of the town council. Anyone would like to volunteer?
I mean, I think I've already been volunteered, although now I've noticed, Councilors Perry and Milbourne are not present, so.
Yeah,
That's okay. We,
I
it's all
told the
good.
story how I ended up going to the bathroom once
Yeah.
and making the president of PTO of Ranger School despite not being in the room. So,
Yeah, I'm happy to step forward.
I know Councilor Perry
yeah.
is not interested. I did try to contact, but we can find him something to do next.
Yeah, and from my perspective, we're talking about renovating a building that my grandfather was the contractor on, so
There you go.
I'd be happy to be part of this committee.
Yes.
Like move that we appoint John Edwards V as the council member to the Public Safety Complex Committee.
Second.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, John.
No problem.
Recreation Commission, Tiverton Celebrates Committee, discussion possible vote regarding request to close a portion of Main Road on May 27th, 2023 from 5 to 10. Rain date, May 28th, to 10. We talked about you the other day,
Okay.
Saturday,
And the nice, oh, that's it.
remember?
Not quite sure what I did, but I'm sure I'm guilty of it, so.
We thought you were going to drive right up here in your car if you were watching.
Thank you for my invitation.
Oh, my pleasure. That's all.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You've had an invitation?
Did you get an
Yeah, we all did.
invitation? Okay. You're not invited, Mike?
So you very kindly had approved the fireworks display that will be happening on May 27th, and one of the discussions that came out of that was with the chief of police about you're going to have a large number of people that want to come and watch the fireworks, and there was concern about how would we handle traffic and other parking options. So one of the things that we did initially was, with their help, connect with the Rhode Island DOT to get permission to be able to close the road if we so chose to do so, from I think it's Middle Road to basically the gut. And the map that's included in your packet with this request was actually the direction that the chief had provided.
So it's Lawton to Bridgeport.
Correct. Yeah, and there may be a little bit of reduction in there based on the chief's final review, but that was his suggestion for.
So people who want to, so Highland will be open.
Highland will be open.
So if people want to park at Fort Barton, it's all set.
Well, they can park at Fort Barton. The other part to it is that we've reserved the parking lots at the schools and have spoken with First Student about being able to drive people back and forth, including having accessible buses. And First Student has been very accommodating with what the cost would be for us to be able to do that. So we would look to drop people off pretty much right at the beginning of Middle Road and then bus them back and forth. So it wouldn't interfere with, we wouldn't have traffic basically on the main road.
No grease on the pants.
So, I'm sorry.
I don't know what to do if somebody breaks down their tires. Fall off,
Well, don't call our solicitor. He won't be able to help you.
So there won't be, I'm just trying to look at this logistically, so you won't be parking here. You can go on Highland.
You can go on Highland, and the one piece that the chief had suggested was rerouting the second half of Highland Road so that people could come down right next to the Black Goose or go up that section so that we would be able to continue the two-way traffic.
Okay.
So
Any questions?
I have a very important question from the map.
Okay.
There seems to be a club that we're not aware of in town. Maybe Brian knows it because it's near where you used to live. Viking Bridge Club. It says right here, the Viking Bridge Club.
It does, actually.
It's on April, looks like it's on April Lane, Brian. Sorry.
I can't. You'd have to ask Google about that.
Okay, any questions or comments?
I think we have some comments from the public, too.
Oh,
so
we do?
Yeah.
what happens in case of emergency? Because you're going to have people all over the roads, right, walking on the
Yeah,
streets?
so there is going to be a police presence there, and there will be we were talking about, and I do need to reconnect with the chief after this particular meeting. If it's approved, we were looking at having a rescue down there as well. We've been working with the fire
We
department.
usually have.
I was going to say, I mean, it's one of those things that's The question of exactly where it would be, I can't give you an answer for, but we would plan on having emergency services there. And one of the things that the chief and I were looking at is, based on the duration, or the length of the footprint, making sure that they can get to where they need to. I do know that they were looking at cutting off the streets, the cross streets, so that there aren't people driving down them. But for emergency services, they would be able to, if they needed to, go
And I
down
was
that.
also imagine the residents that live on Main Road will be able to leave and come back and.
And we'll need to inform all of the residents. I had spoken to
But
the
what
owner of
I'm
the Red
saying is
Dory.
you're not stuck in your house from 5 to 10.
No,
If
no,
you
no.
live on this route.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll connect with them directly and do our best to accommodate them as we go forward.
Have we done this in the recent past?
We've never closed.
I don't remember closing the
No,
streets.
but we've never had fireworks, and that's what's gonna bring them in. And the concerts. We might, okay, wait, I'll let you speak and then, I don't remember them closing it completely like this, but, and I've been involved in almost every single one of these, so.
There was a section closed for Child Safety Day. I couldn't
okay.
tell you how far that closure went off the top of my head, but that was closed around Grinnell's, right
Okay.
by Bunnell Road.
But not for Tiverton Celebrates, I don't think.
No.
John, do you have a question?
I'll hold until we've heard everybody speak.
Jay, do you have anything? Okay. Someone from the public, did you want to speak? Just state your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name's Aaron DeRigo. I live up on Fogland Road, and I'm the owner of the Red Dory Restaurant.
Oh, okay, that's why you look so familiar.
Yeah, right? So, yeah, I just want to make sure that we're represented. I know we've had a conversation, but nobody's reaching out to me and telling me what's going on. I have to figure out what's going on my own. And I'm reaching out, trying to figure things out, and this is only 2 weeks away. So I'm getting a lot of, yeah, we're gonna work it out, we're gonna figure it out, but I'm hearing other people say things or putting my words like, oh, that'll be great for them, there'll be tons of walk-in business that night. And I'm gonna be full that night. I'm full every Saturday night. Like, I don't rely on events for business. All I need is for my customers to be able to get into the restaurant and get home safely. And this does pose a little bit of an issue, even if there is like a let so that we can let customers through, it's still gonna be police presence. So I have to call every single reservation that I have that night, explain to them how to get in, how they're gonna get out. And if this thing does rain out and it happens again on Sunday, then I have to do the same thing to all my Sunday reservations. So it's complicated. I just don't want everyone to think that it's cool with them. They're cool with it because we're not cool with it, really. I don't want to be the one putting out the fun fire over here. But at the same time, it's not like anyone's come to me and asked me how we can work this thing out well. I've done the reaching out, and I know that there's only 2 weeks left, and I know things don't move that quickly. So I just feel like completely, and we have a solid plan that I just wanted to go on record saying that it wasn't 100% okay with me to close the road in front of the restaurant on a Saturday of Memorial Day weekend with the potential of a closure on Sunday for a rain date.
Just to comment, so to be clear, I agree with him that if we were to go back and start over with the planning of this, would have reached out early, but again, I think one of the things we were looking for is making sure we had the approvals in place that this was occurring before we went forward. And we spoke last week. I was not the one that made that comment, and
Right, no, I know.
clarify that.
I know it doesn't help that my landlord is on the recreational committee, so.
Chris Romlin?
Chris Romlin, yeah.
Well, which we have not spoke to.
Right, it was fine, it's fine.
And
And I love it, he's a great landlord. I'm not trying to
Right.
ruin anybody's fun, but
Is there gonna be police at where we close the road off?
Yes.
So,
So-
the customers say, I'm going to Red Dory, and they'll let them through?
And one of the things that we had discussed briefly, and again, my intent was to go back and really map this down and sit down with you and others, is that there can be a section where there is essentially two levels, two barriers, where you have one blocked off for traffic, and another section where if people are coming from the Red Dory, because that way you're not causing an issue of trying to weave between customers.
Would there be any other business affected?
Cumberland Farms would
Cumberland
be,
Farms
but I
would
don't know if they've represented anything. I mean, they deal with walk-ins all the time, so it might not be the worst night for them.
They'll probably go up
You
for
know,
them.
but again, I'm not trying to ruin anybody's fun. It's just, it's challenging in a lot of ways, and Yeah. I mean, even I would say, like, this is a big event to have in an area that, what's the capacity for that?
Well, that's why the road's being closed and all of that, because there's no other areas where we could do this.
Right.
Fireworks is very tricky.
Right.
So the best place to do it was on the water.
I would also offer that if we were to not close the roads, the issue that is going to arise is you're going to have people parking all over the place.
No,
irregularly.
I get it. Like, again, and if that was a conversation before this was planned, then I could have said something at that and said, this might be tricky if you're planning on parking cars, and we could have had a conversation.
Do you have any suggestions on how this would make your life easier that week? Besides opening the roads?
Well, no, I'm not 100% in favor of opening the roads either, because nobody observes the 25-mile-an-hour speed
Right.
limit through there, and it's a very windy spot, and it's going to be late, it's going to be dark. I just want to go on record saying that when you do plan an event like this at Grinnell's Beach, it does affect my business. That's
I understand.
how you guys figure it out. I don't care, but I just want to be considered. Like, I don't support myself on walk-in
Right.
business from Grinnell's Beach. People come from all over, and they make reservations weeks in advance. So in order to reach back out to those people, inform them of what's going on, they're also going to it's not the most comfortable thing for someone who's gone out to a restaurant and had drinks or wine and food and then have to go past the police presence on their way out as well.
We won't
So,
go there.
so it becomes another level of creating.
Yeah, but we won't go there. you
Right,
know?
no, I know. So,
Yeah, Mike.
Stu, have you asked the chief about electronic signs, where they might be able to be posted?
Not at
And
this
even maybe some specific signs that
he
would
posted an
direct-
electronic sign for the child safety event that
Yeah.
said, Red Dory Diners,
Okay.
please go this way. It was all very last minute, and it was, we were talking to him on a Friday night, and the event was on a Sunday morning. So I'm just trying to get to the point where we have some sort of a plan, and someone approaches me with a way that I can call my customers, explain to them what's going on, and how this is going to work for the night, somewhere before the Friday before the event.
So I think the intent, and when you and I spoke before, one of the comments I made is, first of all, I totally understand where you're coming from and want to be supportive and appreciate the guidance. If you're open to it, I'd be open to sit down this week. if you
Sure.
have the availability.
I'm at the Dory from 9 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night every day, so.
Well, and if there's anything we can help with,
No, I mean, I think the only thing that would be helpful in these situations is that, the Tiverton Recreation doesn't come up on the Tiverton website. So if I needed to look up this event, it doesn't show up on the Tiverton website. It shows up on the Tiverton recreational Facebook page, actually. So even to get the details of what's going on, even the details of what's going on are on the pages. So for someone like me, whose business sort of relies on that road being open, especially on a holiday weekend, I should be in the loop when something like this is going to happen. They're going to close the road in front of my restaurant. They should say, well, let's get the Dory guy on board over here so we can discuss this. If you guys are going to continue to use Grinnell's Beach for events from now until the end of time, then I have 4 phone numbers, 3 email addresses. I have a home phone number. I live up on Fogland Road. I'm at Coastal Roses at 9 o'clock every morning. So
I can attest to that.
You guys know where to find me.
everyone else does now also.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And the
you
only
wanna
other thing, while I have your attention, is if at some point in time you guys can address the bathroom situation at Grinnell's Beach. I know you close the bathrooms 90% of the time, and they're only open until 4 o'clock when the lifeguard's there. But there's so many people hanging out over there overnight, and people just keep coming in and to use the bathroom. And I
Well,
was
you
just-
shouldn't allow it.
Well, even if, I know it, but it's such a bad look, like if a family comes and there's a bunch of little kids and,
Yeah, Yeah.
It's
The
just a bad
reason-
look.
The reason for it, if it's unsupervised, the previous bathrooms were really vandalized badly.
Yeah.
And there was a lot, and the septic problems and everything that went on there. And that's the reason why, but we could talk about it. But it would require somebody to go there and close it at a specific
Right.
time.
Well, I know the police go and lock the gates at 10 o'clock every
Yeah,
night.
sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, does anyone have any other questions for me? Can I answer any other questions?
You want to shout out your coffee order so they know what to buy you?
No, everybody knows.
Well, and I will just offer that, I give you my word, I'm happy to,
Yeah.
as we go forward.
Yeah, you got my numbers.
Rec meets the second Tuesday of every month, and I'll keep you in the loop.
All right. Dynamite.
And I'm
You
really.
need the plan soon so that you can.
Yeah, I need a
Sit down this
contingency
week.
plan so I can call, my customers and let them know how to get in,
I apologize if you feel that you were left out of the loop, but I'm sure.
As do I.
Can you react quick enough and get it on your website?
Yeah, I can do all that. I just don't
He needs to
have
know
all the
what to put on the
details. I need
website.
to know
Once it's
what's
got
gonna
it.
be there,
Well, it's too bad.
If I put something up there now, like Main Road is gonna be closed that day, it's gonna deter the amount of reservations that I get. People are
Right.
gonna read it, they're not gonna go back, like
Yeah,
details
and if
to
I've
follow.
already made a reservation, I'm not gonna check it.
Right.
My question is when, I'm sure people haven't made reservations yet for that weekend.
We have, no,
A
we
lot.
have, yeah.
You have.
Yeah, it's only a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
Right, but anyone who's about to make
Well,
reservations.
well,
if you-
it doesn't work like that anymore. Everything's
Yeah.
online, so we don't
All
have a
right,
lot
I'm
of human
sorry.
contact
I'm sorry.
with people who are making reservations.
If I can offer, again, I don't know how the council will vote, but if this does get approved, you and I can sit down and look at them out, and we can meet with the chief,
Sure.
and then come up with a
Yep,
plan of attack.
absolutely.
Even if they went down Lawton,
Right.
Yeah.
so if you went up Highland, down Lawton, and then you just make a quick little turn.
And
Right.
if they're coming from the other
Because that
direction.
would
They may not
probably,
have to go all the way down to Main Road, I guess is what you're saying,
Right,
right?
because they can go through that parking lot,
I mean, like I said,
Yes.
all I need is a plan. That's all I
as
need.
long as the owners of that parking lot don't care.
well, they wouldn't mind through traffic. Well, we usually can't park there for events, right? The medical building?
We have to request it, and that actually, there's a requirement.
Okay.
So,
But they
that's
can get
for child.
to,
So you can,
They're closed during that time, just
Right.
in general, regardless
right,
of.
so when you talk to them about parking, you can also talk to them about pass-through.
Yeah.
because that would be the best way for your customers not to be.
Right,
to have a problem.
coming off of Highland and come
You
down
come off
Lawton.
Highland
Right.
and Lawton's, yeah, and you're down Lawton.
Right.
And through the medical building, they don't even have to
But
get.
if you guys do close Main Road and you're using that as a two-way traffic from south to north Tiverton. Highland, then that's gonna, that road's gonna be pretty congested as well. Especially if everybody's trying to park there and walk down.
But I don't think you're gonna find as many people parking on Highland.
Right.
As well as you will. I also live on Highland, so it's.
Well, I do think you're gonna get people parking at Fort Bot
Yeah,
You'll get
Lot
some
and
people
Ave,
parking
Lot and
for-
Ave will see parking.
Yeah.
and
I-
probably up here at Town Hall.
Are you allowing parking at all the schools?
We were looking at, I believe the approvals for Ranger and the high school.
High
So
school?
because they're,
So people near the high school could park at the high school and just avoid all of this
we'll just
congestion?
walk
Yeah.
over to catch a bus.
Yeah. We'll try to figure this out.
Yeah,
We will
no
figure
worries.
this out for you.
Everybody knows how to reach me.
All right, and I understand your concern.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again, thank you.
Senior center bus, senior center bus.
You can only fit like 30.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's gonna be big enough. And again, I'll say First Student was very generous with what they're letting us use the buses for, including an accessible one. Yeah, they give us a significant discount, so.
Okay. Any other comment?
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. So I'm glad that Aaron spoke up. As the rest of the council knows, I have had significant issues when we have closed down main thoroughfares, especially last minute with failure to notify businesses. So at least in my eyes, I think the size of the requested road closure is way too large because you literally are pigeonholing the Red Dory from potentially having an impact on their business.
Yeah, but you
So
can't close it at the Red Dory.
you could close it from Lawton and then go, what is that, not Summit, but the road in between.
Yeah, but there can't be any through traffic in front of Red Dory.
Correct.
That's really unsafe.
But what I'm saying is you're closing, the proposal is to close from Middle all the way to the gut.
Right. And there was a reason for that, Stu?
I think it's in part where the view of the fireworks is and where
Right,
people are
where
gonna
people
look.
can just hang
Well,
around.
they're gonna be on the main road sitting on that stone wall.
Well, they're gonna be,
And
Which
they can literally,
is what I used to do.
yeah.
Walking.
I think for safety reason, I think that that amount should be closed. The businesses we're affecting would be Coastal Roasters, which is closed by 5, right?
Roughly 5:30, that's.
Sometimes they're
They
open.
might open up
They
for
might
that.
open for
Yeah,
that.
Yeah.
for what? The Baker Newport, which will be closed.
Yeah, and to be clear, I think I misspoke on it. It's Lawton is where the closure would be. It wouldn't be
Right.
Middle Road. So it's over further. And that's actually it's the graphic that was submitted was color, so you can see it better. But it is Lawton by Grinnell, so it wouldn't be that section because there was not as much parking down in that area.
Explain this again, though.
So
I didn't read this right.
From,
So Lawton Avenue
So
down
that-
to,
Bridgeport.
yeah.
Okay,
Because then you've got the triangle right there
Right.
where the buses can do the loop.
right. Oh, okay, that's better.
yeah, so it's about a half
So
mile.
it's
or
not
so.
very, that, quite frankly, the only real business you're impacting is the Red Dory.
Correct. And we would notify all the residents down there
7-Eleven.
too.
And, yeah, but they're gonna get they are gonna get people going in and out of there.
And they can come down
That's pretty much.
Lawton to Summit.
Because when this used to happen years ago, I think it was a Cumberland farm back then, but,
It's
is
still
a
a
com-
Cumberland
it's still a
Farms.
oh, it still is, yeah, not a Cumberland farm, I'm
Jay
sorry.
mislabeled it.
Yeah,
And the,
yeah,
Yeah.
it was called, yeah.
and Coastal Roasters, people will walk in. They
Yes.
usually open during events
Yes.
like this.
Oh, is that better for you, John? I think Lawton, we're not affecting any people from Lawton to the.
North.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not showing up in color on this, but that's where I believe, if you look at the DOT approval as well, is where it
Okay.
goes.
So I would just say that I guess I'm okay with this, but provided that Recreation puts a concrete plan in place for how to handle traffic for the Red Dory, because the last thing that we should be doing is putting a business at risk, especially on one of the busiest weekends for a restaurant.
I think we could definitely make a plan for them. It's not that far-fetched. Do you agree?
I agree, but I would only phrase it as Recreation with the police and the Red
Right.
Dory will put
Sure.
it together. So
Right.
I don't want to speak for them. I want to make sure they're comfortable with it too.
And also, the police chief has to be comfortable
Yeah, he said.
on how
police,
we're
yeah.
doing this also.
But if I find out that Aaron is not happy,
Well, he might not be, but
No, but he,
we'll do
I
the
mean,
best we
he-
can.
he's open to it, but there
He's
needs to be,
open to- he's
the bottom
open
line
to-
is there needs to be more communication. When we're going to potentially negatively impact a local business, we got to stop doing these things where it's last minute.
Well, I have to say that we learned our from the parade. There was one year that they didn't feel they were notified properly, and I do know for the fact that communication has greatly increased since then. So we do try.
Sure.
And it's not a knock on you, Stu, or your committee. This is just the sins of the past are now.
No, and I
Coming
don't
to bear.
disagree with you. I did, when he and I had spoken before, he raised the concerns, and I agreed with him then, and one of the things we had offered was to be able to try and help with some of the communication out to his customers in any way that we could, and that offer will stand if there's a place that I or we can help. So we want to be good neighbors, I agree with you. I think there's also a byproduct of the more that we do these type of events, the more we realize what we're dealing with and where we're going, and it provides us an opportunity to get better at it in all facets of it. So I agree with you.
And I would hope that ultimately something like this would drive additional reservations for his restaurant because of the prime viewing real estate.
Maybe.
So Stu, is it possible to have a pretty good plan with the next 3 or 4 days
Yes,
or sooner?
yes.
Well, it's like 2 to 3
It's
weeks.
the 27th.
So it's 2.5 weeks away, almost
Yeah,
3 weeks
but
away.
Keep in mind, he's got to notify customers.
Yeah, no, I agree.
This week.
I don't agree, but I don't think any of this was intentional at all.
No.
Okay.
It just, we,
I don't think I'm not, hopefully it's not being taken this way. I'm not attributing malice anywhere. I'm
Okay.
just
No.
saying that, when we have road closures like this, we can't be so last minute about it. And, even the one that happens in front of me, it always catches me by surprise.
We've been talking about this for months also.
I think that's the other part to it, is that what we're just discussing today relates to the road closures. I know that from having just listened to him, that one of his concerns related to the fireworks, and that took place, those discussions have taken over
Months.
along with the public
Years.
hearing. So this is the last piece to it. We could have just decided that we were just going to do fireworks and not done anything else. The reason behind this is, in speaking with the chief, we felt that there was a reason to look at it from a safety standpoint, and I agree with you. It's one of those items that I would have loved to include it, and probably we should have included earlier on. And if this event were to continue in the future, that's something we will absolutely address. But I do want to make sure that we're good neighbors to a good local business. So,
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? Like to entertain a motion? The police chief is ill and couldn't make it tonight, so, but he said if
Yeah,
I
he knew
need-
Aaron was coming to talk, that's why.
He said if I needed to call him, he was watching, so.
He is, because he just texted, put it on the next agenda. I assume he means what?
There's a delay in the broadcast.
Yes, oh, for an update. Put it on for an update.
Okay.
It's about a minute and a half.
Well, we learned that
So-
from the treasurer the other day.
Well,
we
and
can submit an updated plan to
solicitor.
the council, just so you're aware. If that works. It'll either come from
Yeah.
rec or from him.
Yeah, I'll just put it back as an update at the next agenda. But do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second?
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion?
In part of that motion, we have that this discussion will occur between you, Stu, and businesses and police chief.
Yes.
We have
Is that all right with
Correct,
you,
that is my
John?
motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I have a second. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Okay. Motion been made and second. All those in favor? Perfect. Thank you, Stu.
Thank you.
Could you take over for just a couple of minutes?
Okay. Next up, I ran into Mr. Goff, Brian Goff. Brian, if you want to join us, at the gym recently, and he let me know that he is the new coordinator for the Tiverton Prevention Coalition, and wanted to give us an update of who they are, because some may not know, as well as good for the public to hear, and what they are doing. So Brian, please.
Thanks. I did want to come in and talk just a little bit about the Tiverton Prevention Coalition, which is part of the coalitions of Tiverton and Little Compton. Give you a little bit of history, talk about where we're going in the future, and then probably beg for some money at the end, just because that's what we do. So the Prevention Coalition, if you're not familiar with this, is a community-driven organization that promotes health and well-being. We do that across the lifespan. So while we might be mostly associated with the schools in town, I'm also at the senior center. So I'm trying to do as much as I can across the community to improve our overall health and well-being. We do focus on substance use and mental health advocacy. So that means it's a pretty broad portfolio of things that we work on. A lot of activities that have taken place over the years really hit into the schools. So we spend a great deal of time there, and I can give you some more information on that. What we try to do, we get together, we get involved, we educate, and we care. That's our overall focus. To give you an idea, a coalition typically has about 12 different community sectors that are associated with it. It includes youth, those 18 or younger, their parents, businesses, media, school. I've been working with our police chief, and that's going really well. And local government is part of that as well. And I want to talk about that at the end. So a little bit of the history on the coalition. They got their first DFC grant, a drug-free community grant, back in 2011. So those are 5-year grants. They were able to get that. It was $125,000 a year that came into the community. They were able to apply for the extension of that and got the additional 5 years. So that went through 2021 and put about $1.2 million into the community here through programs and activities, education for that period of time. Unfortunately, we're capped at 10 years with the federal government. So that ran out in 2021. We were able to continue getting some funds out of the Newport County DFC grant. And that's how they're funding a part-time role now for me and some minor budget that we've got in order to do some programming in the schools and elsewhere. Okay. Things that we get involved in, a lot of outreach and education. You'll probably see me sitting at a table about this size for the next several years. I'm going to be at the farmer's market. I'm going to be at every health fair, whatever it might be in the area, trying to get information out to people as much as we can. One thing that I will be focusing a lot on in the next several months is just information on fentanyl, which is impacting our community dramatically. We're seeing some horrific things taking place, and the more I get into this job, the more I get scared as to what's out there in the community. So that type of education, doing some training. We've got a mental health fitness, or mental health first aid training that we do for both youth and adult. We'll have one of those at Sandy Woods fairly soon. And we try to do community development, anything we can. I was at the rec committee just getting an idea of what they're doing, seeing how we can partner with them, how can we help the community in any way. We have several programs, one called No Wrong Door, which is a program essentially that anybody coming in to get help, mental health services in any way, if they feel as though that's where they should be, we try to make sure that they're not turned away. It's a network of these providers that are able to work with each other and get the people the help that they need in the best way possible. We also have a program that we're having a little trouble implementing here in Tiverton because we don't have a laundromat in town. A program called Laundry Love, where we open up the laundromat for people that are currently experiencing homelessness or may not have access to a laundry facility, may not have the money to actually get their clothes cleaned. So we got a program working like that throughout Newport County. We also do Narcan training in the community. We're trying to get as many people as possible trained with Narcan and get that out there. Again, going back to that fentanyl issue I mentioned, the number of overdoses that are occurring, and Narcan is not a fix for everything, but to be able to have access to that and be able to provide that when we can. So a few other programs that we work on, a lot of that taking place in the schools. I'm spending time at the high school right now, be at the middle school. Again, outreach with students, engaging them. So I mentioned the grant. I wanted to talk a little bit about funding and support and our overall structure. Right now, we're operating under Strategic Prevention Partnerships, which manages all the coalitions for Newport County. Underneath that, the Newport County Prevention Coalition, I think, is where I'm actually funded. So I get a little bit of cash to be able to do some programming in the area. We are looking at another DFC grant. It will probably take another year or so to be able to write that and see if we can do it. The only way to do that would be to combine with Little Compton and create a new coalition and see if we might be able to get, again, that type of cash into the communities. So we're working on that, and hopefully next year we'll have something to report against that. Okay. With that said, the one thing I would like to ask is if there is some funding available through the town. I know the federal government has invested over about a 10-year period. They put quite a bit in. We do get a little bit of money out of Little Compton. It's a very small stipend that they provide yearly. We'd like to do more, and it doesn't come free. I'm looking at programs to do in the schools, bringing speakers in, different types of programs that are available. We try to do it as cheap as we possibly can, and one of our director is a phenomenal grant writer, and we're trying to get money from a lot of organizations. But if we can get some from the council, it would be a tremendous help. Okay. In addition to that, I would like to see if we might be able to get a representative from the town council to participate in the coalition. I know that we've probably had that over the years, and it's dropped off a bit because we backed away because the funding went away.
I think we just found Dennis's new calling.
So that was going to be one of my questions, Brian. Who is on your board?
Our board?
Yeah.
Director is Rebecca Elwell.
Yeah.
And I don't have the other names of the board members off the top of my head, but I can get that for
That's what you'll be looking for the council to be on?
More for the Tiverton Coalition.
Okay.
And on that right now, you'll know one name, obviously, is on every board, is Sally Black, who I spend a lot of time with.
She was very excited that you were coming here tonight.
Yes. So she pokes me every day and says, go ask for more money. But, yes,
I mean, Sally's all over your website.
absolutely.
Anybody have questions for Brian?
After you.
So you have a board of directors,
That
And-
for strategic prevention, they have a board of directors. Each individual coalition has coalition members that participate on a monthly basis. We meet to talk about what the activities we have planned and get any input we can from the community.
and at this point, you have some grant money?
I have a little bit of money
Little
coming
bit.
out of Newport County, enough for half-time coordinator, and then I've got a very small programming budget of about $10,000. That has to cover Tiverton and Little Compton.
That is very little.
It's very little. I looked at one program for the school, fantastic program. It's gotten huge reviews, the actual format of it, and you can do it with a number of different topics. But that one program is $3,000. Everybody says it's worth every penny, but that would take a third of my budget.
Right,
that.
right.
So,
And you're working with the police and the schools and the
Yes.
senior center, and
yeah.
police chief is great at writing grants, too.
Yes, he
I was
is.
just going to say that. He's my grant writer, nobody, he's our grant
Yep.
writer.
Yeah.
So I know that our town administrator's not here yet. He's coming back this week.
Yeah.
But one thought I'm thinking is maybe like opioid money.
Yeah, that's what Michael was just.
That's the discussion we've had in our office as well. We know some of that, I think, went to the police and for good use. But I know that those are recurring funds that come, is it 10 years that it's coming out?
It depends, but generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the settlement, but
We did
Right.
spend some of
I
that.
think we contracted with Newport Mental Health for some, I think, but I think there are funds available.
Yeah.
And they're restricted, so they
Yep.
can't go to the general fund, so.
We would like to be at least involved in that discussion of how those funds might be used in the community.
I have a list for the town administrator, so I'll make
Okay.
That's where I just was.
I didn't realize everything that you did. I'm familiar with Rebecca Elwell, have been for years.
Right.
And I thought it really was just more drug, alcohol related, but
Right.
certainly mental health issues. We've just added some to our programming for the police and Newport
Absolutely.
Mental Health Services, because it's obviously something.
We see all of it
Only-
connected. And if
Absolutely.
we can help with the mental health issues, we might be able to prevent some of the substance use.
And thankful that it's in with the senior center too, because there's a lot of mental health issues and a lot of drug issues in
Absolutely.
the seniors too.
Absolutely. Overall drug safety. And families are blended and living together. And the number of prescriptions that elderly have and how those are maintained in a home is an important
Correct,
topic.
Yes.
John, did you have
Madam
something?
President, or
You taking back over? Me?
No, you finish this. up.
Okay, I'll finish this up.
okay,
Please
it's
do.
confusing. Have you, two questions. Have you reached out to anybody at the state level for funding?
I'll be talking to your father soon.
Okay, so the
No, I do
follow-up
know,
question was to that was going to be, the legislators are able to get local legislative grants. It's not going to be $125,000, but,
Yep.
if you can get another $10,000 to $15,000 out of the state, now would be the time to strike.
Yep.
So I would encourage you to call him
Reach
sooner
soon.
rather than later.
Right.
And if you don't have a cell phone, you're going to, it's going to be in your inbox.
I texted him and I didn't get a response, so I don't know if I had the right cell number.
I'll make sure you have it.
Okay.
Other questions? No, Brian, I think it's a wonderful
All right.
organization, so certainly we will look at opportunities, especially with the opioid money, and
Okay.
bring you into that discussion.
We appreciate that very much.
I can't find it. I was looking at a bill today, and I learned of a newer drug. It's an extract from coffee, not coffee, but a coffee-related plant.
Okay.
That Rhode Island is one of the 6 states that does not allow it to be sold, but I can't find the bill, so.
Okay. I haven't seen that one
Yeah.
yet. I'm learning all kinds of new chemical compounds,
Yeah.
everything else.
But, I mean, that just goes to show that there's so many things out there that
Right.
are troublesome.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Assessor Roberts, update on upcoming 2023 statistical reevaluation. Hello.
Good evening. Now for the fun part of the evening. Everyone's favorite topic, revaluations. Just a really quick summary, which I normally every time I talk about revaluations, I just remind the town council and the residents that revaluations are state mandated by the legislative, that we have to do these revaluations once every 3 years. The last revaluation was a full revaluation where data collectors go out in the field and go from door to door. Unfortunately, the last one was a little abbreviated because of COVID, but that was a full revaluation. The one that we are conducting this current year in 2023 with an effective market value date of December 31st, 2023, is just about to begin with some data collection. So I believe on May 22nd, the revaluation company is going to send one of their data collectors out in the field. What he's going to be doing is taking a look at sales, properties that were sold in the last year. We want to make sure that the information that we have regarding those sales is accurate, not only the sales information, but all the data pertaining to the home, number of baths, square footage, that type of thing. The information on that data collector, and there's just one at this point in time that will be out in the field, in addition to myself, has been provided to significant departments. Building official, I've notified because sometimes when people see someone walking around, they contact them. So they're notified, town administrator's office, and obviously the police department. So his vehicle and name will be registered with them. A quick snapshot of what's happened since the last revaluation is that we have seen the market still appreciate at some pretty good double-digit appreciation rates. Currently, we're looking somewhere around 30-35% since the last revaluation. The market is currently softening a little, but I don't see much of a decline in that appreciation rate. But I will be updating the town council quarterly, so the next time I come to you, I might have some better information on what 2023 is doing. So I do anticipate to be back before you guys sometime in July to give you an update on what's going on. The residents, they should be aware that this revaluation, again, is effective December 31st. They will be notified of the new values in March of 2024. Every time I come to the town council, and there will be actually an informational seminar that I'm going to give late in the year. But I do want to stress, whenever people do receive their assessments, don't apply the current tax rate because you will go into sticker shock. The tax rate will go down because values go up. The website will be updated with the progress of the revaluation. So anything that's significant that residents need to be notified of, I will post on the website. As far as that revaluation seminar, that's going to, like I said, probably be towards winter, but I will conduct something similar to, I think Jay attended one that I had at Country View Estates, sit down with residents and just give them an overview of what the revaluation is about and what they can expect. And once they do get their notices, what the next step may be if they disagree with that assessment. That's it for now. I do want to ask the town council if there's any questions or any concerns. We can either you can either ask me now, or we can meet individually if anyone would like to discuss anything.
Madam President?
Yes.
One question. Is this a different company than the company we utilized for the last reval?
It is not.
Okay, great. So should we anticipate significant appeals, because they didn't really seem to have their act together? And obviously mine, as well as several other properties, were affected by their inattention to detail.
Right. So one of the concerns that I do have in general with revaluations is just a general perception that one particular company doesn't do a great job. Granted, Northeast revaluation, which we're using again, there was one significant error that should never have happened. But as far as values are concerned, there's, especially in an appreciated market, people always have concerns and there is upset. But if you take a look and Google us, any revaluation company, anytime there's a revaluation, there's always issues. But because of the last revaluation and some of the issues, what I've done in this particular case, revaluation companies generally, when they have an effective date as December 31st, they work right up to that date and then give the assessor information after that. And that's a very tight window because when I get the information, the residents are getting the information. So I don't have a lot of time to review it. So what I've done with this RFP is they have to give me that information, preliminary values for me to take a look at around October. So I'm going to have several months to take a look at the data that they have, go out in the field, review it, and we're trying to cover our bases as much as possible. One of the things I'm going to stress in that seminar and later in the year is to ensure that the residents, there's a website where all of the information is, and I want them to review the information because, my key is always to make sure that everyone's assessment is fair and accurate. So the more they can help in that process, the better. Because, again, unfortunately, that full revaluation, when we do go door to door and we try to get the interior information, because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. So there is a lot of information that we may not be aware of any particular property, whether it's pro or con. If it's in fair condition on the interior, we wouldn't know that until we get inside.
It makes sense. Thank you. And just because of the positions that we all occupy on the council and being out and about in the community, when residents are upset, they tend to break out the pitchforks and torches and look at us first. So even though it's not, ultimately it comes out of your office. So thank you.
Mike?
And Dave, if I remember right, when we were putting forth that RFP, you had mentioned, I think after the responses came back, there are now 2, maybe 3 companies that can do this work in?
Correct. There's 2 that work in Rhode Island and other communities, but the 2 main ones in Rhode Island is Northeast Revaluation and Vision. The Vision, just to go back to John's question about using the same company, their bid was, I forget the exact number, but it was significantly higher, like $80,000 higher than Northeast. And a lot of that was software related. But yes, there's only 2. There's a third, but they hardly ever bid in Rhode Island. They did currently bid in Providence, but I don't believe they get that bid. But yeah, most of the small companies that do perform revaluations were bought up by these larger companies.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, so I got some information about budget stuff from Dave earlier today.
Microphone.
I provide everybody a copy. Can we have him explain that now, or do you want to wait till 7H?
Wait till 7H. Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you.
Councilor Edwards, discussion and possible vote on resolution in support of the restoration of general revenue sharing to cities and towns.
Do you want me to read it?
If you want.
Sure. This is a carbon copy from a resolution. Whereas cities and towns across Rhode Island have been struggling with the recent inflationary environment, and whereas in 2009 the General Assembly discontinued revenue sharing due to the economic collapse, and whereas the removal of the general revenue sharing forced cities and towns to increase property taxes to make up for this loss in revenue, and whereas the state of Rhode Island has seen very good rebound from the economic crisis brought on by the COVID pandemic, and whereas the past 2 fiscal years the state of Rhode Island has benefited from the economic rebound with a $417 and $878 million respectively, and an anticipated $600 million budget surplus for FY23. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Council respectfully requests the Rhode Island General Assembly and the Governor reinstate general revenue sharing for all 39 cities and towns to help reduce the impact of inflation on the citizens of Rhode Island, and be it further resolved that the Town Council respectfully requests the respective city and town councils of Rhode Island to join in our request to have the General Assembly restore general revenue sharing in the upcoming FY24 budget. Essentially, what we would be looking at here, rough numbers, if this was restored, would be a bump in our revenues from the state of right around $500,000. which, as we've seen through the budget cycle thus far, is desperately needed to help mitigate some of the increases that we've seen. So I would like to put this resolution in front of the council for consideration and then have it sent around to all the other communities and to our state delegation.
Any questions from the council? Mike, Jay, Deb?
You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the...
Not when we want you to, John.
Love it. I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the resolution as read. It will be numbered 2023-0009.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay.
And obviously, we're going to send this around to our representatives in other municipalities. Wonderful.
You want me to sign this and you're going to have a clean copy? Okay. E, John, did you want to table that? No.
Madam Clerk, was that taken care of?
Yes, that was all set.
Perfect. Withdrawn.
Councilor deMedeiros, discussion and possible vote on draft resolution establishing the Tiverton Zoning Revision Committee and approve funding to advertise committee open positions. I've been getting some concerns about this committee, and people who have been involved with charter review and all of those felt that 11 is way too much because it's very hard to get 6. And how they did it in the past was form subcommittees, and were able to get more people to, more input that way. So I've been looking at this, and this is what I'm going to suggest, but of course, if anyone had, I was thinking one representation from the zoning, planning, and town council. Those members will go to their committees, monthly or whatever, give them an update, and get any further suggestions. One conservation committee member, one economic development, and 2 electors. So that would bring it to 7. So quorum would be 4, which would be easier to maintain. Does anyone want to, any?
Do we need a motion to amend this?
Yeah, but just think about it, just don't, but you see what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
A lot of these, a couple of people call me, the committees they've been on, it's very difficult to get a quorum with that many members. And they just felt that if we consolidated a little bit and have communication throughout, then they, and plus, they're all open meetings. So people can come and you know, 2 more planning board members could sit in the audience and speak. So it would be 1 zoning, 1 planning, 1 town council, 1 of every, and then 2 electors instead of 3.
Madam President?
Does that sound good, Mike?
Quorum would be 4.
Quorum
Quorum would be 4. And if you notice, I've just put a fewer number may meet for discussion or review purposes.
Yes.
Anticipating that there will probably be presentations of the Weston and Sampson sometimes, they might come. So sometimes you can't get a quorum for that, and they can still go ahead and just get a presentation. They won't take a formal vote, but they can still go forward and
Okay.
get other information. That's why I put that caveat in there, just to explain it. And then the non-voting members don't affect the quorum at all.
Not at all. Any questions?
Madam President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we, I guess, approve the draft resolution with the amendments as outlined, and approve the funding to advertise for the open committee positions.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? Mike, anything?
No.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. All those in favor? Thank you. Council President deMedeiros, discussion possible vote to approve funding to advertise a public hearing regarding proposed amendments to Tiverton Code of Ordinance for restricted appropriation accounts and restricted revenue accounts. So you have that in front of you. My question on this, if we advertise, if we approve tonight, we could probably have the meeting the first meeting in June. And if this goes through, is it this budget also affected? Like, as of now? Okay, so Deb, that was your question?
That was my
Last
question.
time, because so then the accounts that we want restricted, we can plan,
Yeah, right.
when we're budgeting, we can plan for that.
And if there's a question of timing, we can always make it retroactive to a date,
Okay.
you know, before, like, you know, June 1st or something,
Right,
maybe.
because I keep forgetting that July 1st isn't the stop dead date
Right.
anymore. And I think we all have that July 1st in
Right.
our head. But if we make it an ordinance, then we can make it effective immediately as of that date.
Correct.
And then we could do it with the present budget
Correct. It would
as
be-
we were planning.
Correct.
Because if you're thinking of the sanding account, guys, and how
Right.
much is left over in that would save us some money.
Oh, you're saying the current budget?
The one we're
The
working
one
on
that
now.
we're
The new
working
one,
on
I
now.
mean,
The
not-
new one.
The
new
24
budget.
budget.
Yeah.
So whatever, yes, so whatever accounts that you want to restrict would be would be affected by this, correct?
Perfect, because that's much better than a resolution, which it wouldn't be effective until the following year.
Correct.
Okay. And that was a question.
That was a
That was a question you asked the other day when I
Right.
slept on it. I was thinking of that. I'm so fixed on that July 1st date, and
We're trying to reduce some of the
What do you mean when
items.
you say the July 1st date isn't, I forget exactly what you said. So we have to have the budget approved by June 30th.
we have to, but in the past, it was somewhere in May. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
okay.
So,
Oh,
to
yes,
me,
right.
yeah, it's not really the July 1st.
Yeah.
It's all the dates
Yep.
that went before that.
Right.
So I'm so fixed on that it,
Our question was, we were trying to make some reductions. Could we reduce these and it would be in a restricted account? But we weren't sure when that time
But
frame
this
was.
should pass, if it does pass, it will pass before your budget is
Right.
finally adopted.
Right.
And we have been talking about this, we know that a lot of us are in favor of it, so the chances,
So, but a follow-up. Do we need to have resolutions in place in the preliminary budget so that if, for some reason, this does not pass, we have those to put in
In
that
front of the
budget?
Now, I think you could restrict even in that budget ordinance, the budget.
Right,
not
that's what I
passed,
mean.
yeah.
But we
you
have
could-
to have the preliminary, I know, we can do it up until the last
No, but
day.
you could put the
but-
restrictions right in that, you can say, at least for this next year, these are restricted funds.
Right, so should we do that when we finalize the preliminary
I mean,
budget
I
is
don't-
my
I don't
question.
See, these are things that have been passed year
as
after
it
year.
is, the reevaluation account
Already, I mean, you've done that
Election
before.
account.
Yeah, those are already in there.
paving, the only thing we're adding is sand, salt, and gravel. And for anyone who isn't aware of what we're talking about, there's some winters where we spend very little in that account, and then we turn that over to the general fund. What we were thinking about is restricting it, and this is a good example, there's a lot left over there. So then we don't have to tax you to put that money back.
Right, wouldn't pour over to the general, it'll.
Would go into
Right.
this restricted.
Right.
So it's helpful for reduction in taxes also that we do this. Now, the DPW director wants to talk, did you want to suggest snow?
Well, this is only about advertising right now, so,
Right.
it's- yeah, so.
Right, but if he wants to put snow removal.
Into
You would
the
do that
budget.
at the, when we have the hearing.
Okay, fine, okay, thank you.
Could you repeat that? What, Mike?
So this is just for advertising now.
As is.
As is, and then at the hearing, you can suggest adding something else, okay?
Thank you.
And we, on the council, can suggest adding other things as well, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
So the evaluation's already done, election and paving. This is so we don't have to put a resolution in every single year,
Correct.
because we have forgotten once or twice to
Well, and we
repeat.
also changed the process, right, so.
Right. This has all been approved in the past by the voters, actually. But what I'm saying is, we tax you for this money, we don't spend it, we put it back in general fund, then we re-tax you to put it into this account. What we're saying is, whatever is left over, we keep there,
Stays there.
and it builds.
So if
And
I
then-
want to entertain a change to the transfer tax, I would do that at the hearing?
Yeah, I would
The
appreciate,
night of the
yes.
hearing.
I would appreciate if you do have changes, you want to make amendments, just get them to me before the next meeting so I can have the language ready to go.
Right.
Well,
Oh, no,
talk
we're
in the
gonna,
morning.
we don't even know if you're gonna be here. I mean, you might blow another tire out.
I might buy a new car at some point in the next week.
I thought you did.
I know.
Restricted revenue accounts, Tiverton Industrial Park, land convey, oh, okay, that's the 25% that goes to open space? No.
Yeah.
No, that's the 25% of sales in the park that goes to
Okay.
the infrastructure fund.
Oh, you want to change that?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. All
I said
right.
the
That's
conveyance
B.
tax.
D is the conveyance.
B1.
Right, that's what I was just saying,
Oh,
yeah.
you thought you were reading.
No, the conveyance tax.
Yes.
We just decreased this.
No,
Okay.
what's happened here is for years and years and years, it was 60%.
Right. And we
A
decreased it,
group wanted it to be 0.
right.
I got you all to agree to 25.
Right.
I
Okay.
would like to bump it up.
All right, so we can talk about that night. So we're just asking that we go out for advertisement.
Madam
Right?
President, make a motion to approve funding to advertise a public hearing regarding proposed amendments to the Tiverton Code of Ordinance for restricted appropriation accounts and restricted revenue accounts.
Second.
Motion been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Council President deMedeiros, discussion possible final votes on school and all departments, FY24 budgets, FY revenue estimates, and possible resolutions. So, John, you weren't here Saturday, right? Okay. So we just discussed the school again, and some of, I don't know if you received, okay, perfect. So all the things we needed came to us. Chris is coming back tonight. We have a meeting on Thursday. We have made changes. I reviewed to make sure, according to my notes, I think it's all up to date and very well. Thank you, Denise and Joan, for doing that. We are going to have to make further reductions. Now that the budget committee gave us a budget, and they said that what their suggestion was, am I right, a 3.4% increase?
Thought it was 3.2.
Or maybe it's 3.2. So the first thing I want to do tonight is look at their resolutions. Because some of those resolutions do not have to be there.
3.53.
3.53.
That's what I got.
I'm not comfortable with 3.53. I don't know if any of you are.
Nope.
And we also have to have some discussion on whether or not we want to take some money from the general fund. But I thought we would do that on Thursday also, I want Chris to look at this, look at our proposals, make sure. But if you want, let's do one thing while I'm thinking of it. Go to the DPW budget and look at
Look at the 5.5 numbers.
sanding. You know what I'm saying? Sand, salt, and gravel. So, there's 125 left over. It's on page 10. And we put up, for some reason, we decided, well, we put 150 because we didn't know we could carry over. If we do carry over
Well, we don't know that we can carry over yet.
until June
We have to pass
1st,
the ordinance first.
Right.
right, do we want to assume that we will and decrease that number? Because this has to be in by Monday. So we put one, you know what I'm saying?
So
We
the
put-
worst case is you assume, and then it doesn't pass, and we have to find the money to put back in
Yeah,
the final vote.
yeah,
Well, it also means that you never want to be close to the cap, but you would need to be even less close to the cap.
what?
Percentages.
Well, right. Yeah, so what I was thinking, we could actually reduce that to like $30,000.
What do we have in there now?
125.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a savings, guys, right there.
that's a huge savings.
That's a huge savings. Rick, you're not gonna tell us not to do this, right?
No.
Okay. Because I might not let you talk. No, come on. I'm only kidding.
No, thank you. I just wanted to say that we are planning on doing what was suggested. We did look into it, and we can purchase at the lower rate this year, because as long as we cover it and berm it, we can buy that. So we are planning on using some of these funds that we have this year, still left over, because thank God
buy
it was
for
a
next
mild
year.
winter. Yes, and stockpile it at the lower rate.
Perfect, thank you.
So do you have any idea of how much when you say some?
Well, I would,
Yeah, but it's still going to be what we spend.
yeah.
Right.
I will get you that number.
Yeah, but we need to know what's going into the
Right,
restricted. That's
right.
all.
Well, you still have room in the cupboard.
Well, if 125 goes in there and we
No.
give 30.
Now we have a tiny bit of
But
room.
125 not gonna go in there because Rick's gonna use some of
For
it.
next year, though.
Right.
So that 125
No.
is for next,
He's
No,
gonna buy
he's
it
saying
now.
he's gonna buy it this year.
to use for next year.
Right,
stockpile.
Right,
Right.
So
right.
we're gonna, so either way, it's for next year.
Right,
6 of one, half dozen of
125
another.
might not go in there, but we'll have the sand and gravel.
You're
right. It just won't be the number that you see today, because we're
But
gonna
that-
spend some of
But that's
that.
okay, and thank you for taking that suggestion and running with it.
But if we have, so we're still considering putting additional money in there, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Because next year this time, he wouldn't have the money to buy ahead,
Right.
or at least not as much.
So you want to put like 50 more in it?
Well,
There's
how much,
125
how much do you think you'll spend?
Why do I
Like-
have 43,000?
I'll figure that out, and I'll send an email
Because
out
it's in the
tomorrow.
budget document.
It's not
Budget committee's document.
125,000 though.
The budget
No,
committee
we wouldn't do
only put
that.
43?
They took 43 from
They
what
put-
we, they subtracted out 43 from what we were,
The problem is we have so many budgets.
Well, I got one here
Okay,
that says
so
up
I'm
to
gonna look at
5.5.
our budget. Yeah, I'm looking at the wrong budget.
I've got that 5.5.
Madam President,
So which one are we looking at?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you in a minute. We're gonna look at DPW, page
10.
10. Is it still page 10?
Yep.
Mike?
Both
Okay.
are on page 10.
Okay, and what we put in it,
We suggested once,
no, we suggested 150.
150.
So
I don't
I don't
know.
understand what the budget committee did.
Oh, is that, no?
I don't understand what the budget committee did.
Let's see what they did.
Well, I'm looking at it, they have 150 there.
Well, then in yellow
It says 43,000.
is 43,000, so what is that?
I don't know.
It's in brackets, so that's less, right?
Well, what's the green? They added.
Yeah, the green
was
is
paving.
added.
All right, so they added 80, but we
To the
decided not to do
paving.
that. Well, because their concern was the roads are bad, but as I explained, Rick can only do so many roads a year. So no matter how much money you put in there, he can't double the amount of roads he's doing, because there's just no time. So that's why they put the 80 in. So we put 140 at 150. I don't understand what that 43 is.
I don't know what that is.
The
either.
original request was 193,
Oh, so.
and they're subtracting 43 to
Oh,
make it
from
150.
Oh, okay, so they agree. Thank you, Joan.
Madam President,
Yeah, I didn't see
I'm going
that.
to suggest we take that number down to 50,000.
Yeah, me too.
Take 100,000 out. I mean, that's going to move the needle, I don't
It's
know.
gonna really move the needle.
5-6 basis points, so.
Yep. And Rick, I think this is you understand, this is a good idea what we're doing, because now you'll always have that restricted account to
D-
build on.
DPW is definitely in favor of
Okay.
the restricted account. And just to give you some numbers right here, if we were to buy 20 loads, we would like to buy more than 20 loads, but if we were to buy 20 loads, we would spend approximately 60,000. If we were to buy 30, we would spend about 90, 120. So it's about 30,000 for 10 loads. That's the sand and salt.
And that's a lot of sand and salt.
Well, 10 loads isn't what I'm saying is 10 loads is 10 tractor trailers. That's not a lot.
Right.
We were buying, after a storm, we would maybe buy 10 loads. So it's about 30 grand. I don't know how much is left in the budget right now, but if we.
125.
125. So if we were to spend all of that, we would only get 40 loads, which is a lot of loads. Don't get me wrong, that's a lot of loads, but that's not a ton. That's,
I'm
What's
wrong
a-
about that.
What's a big
we-
snowstorm? How much do you go through?
you might go
10
through 10 loads.
in a big snowstorm?
Yeah, and you're
Yeah, I
you're
wrote
talking
notes
$30,000,
that said
$35,000.
probably, now that I'm looking at it.
But next year, that could be
That was the
50,000.
Yeah.
approved.
Well, the price has been going up.
I have a question for you. Does the state assist with purchasing? And it's kind of a leading question because obviously Rhode Island, 39 communities, plus we have the state purchasing sand, salt, and gravel. Is there not a buying group where we can join in with the state to get a better price, or is that already what we're in?
We either piggyback on the state MPA, or we get it lower based on availability. But we do at least as well as the state, because what's happened in the past is they give us the Newport or Bristol delivery rate. They have various salt depots around the state, and they typically give us the rate for either Bristol or Newport. So
Where's
we
it
do
coming
use-
from? Massachusetts?
No, it's coming from Providence.
John, I
Okay.
made a mistake. We
So
only,
Rick, at the end of.
we only have
At the end
66.
of March,
Oh,
you had $66,000
Yeah, I wrote, yeah.
and change in the sand, salt, and gravel account, which is 6698.
So we only had 66 in that?
66,
But we did take,
433.
but we did take $3,000 out of that to put somewhere else.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't know, but I know we did a budget transfer.
You're gonna
there.
have to reconcile with the treasurer as to what you have.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
All right, so,
porta potties.
yeah, you're right, porta potties.
So what I would
So
say.
we can't put 50
yeah.
in there, maybe 75? What would that bring it to? Yeah, that would bring it to one.
If we only have
you'd be
66 in that
90,
account,
90 to get to 150.
All right,
yeah.
Yeah.
So if we only have 66 in that account right now today, we'd be ordering all of that.
yep,
So we would end up with zero
Which would be good.
To roll over.
which would
Right.
be good. and
It's
then
certainly
we
cheaper
stop.
now than it will be.
And we'll start out the year with
Yeah.
the sand and salt.
We certainly don't expect the price to go down. It's been going up an average the last 2 years about 30% for salt. Salt was about 46, and it went to 64, then it went to 75. That's huge percentage increases.
Did you have any availability problems?
No,
No.
no.
All right, so we'll call
Thank
that
you.
90, thank you.
90.
Yes. Now we'll look at the resolutions that the budget committee gave.
Budget committee resolutions that we're looking
Yeah. Do you have a copy of that?
at? I do. Have it online. Some of these are irrelevant now because of the
Right,
ordinance
that's-
they've in the past.
Yeah, and some of these are.
Not yet.
Not yet, but.
Well, they're,
And that's what I guess I'm unclear why you're suggesting we shouldn't, at least in the preliminary budget, include those. And then if we pass that ordinance, we strip them out.
because we have out the preliminary budget.
Right.
So pay as you-
This is uncharted territory, so, you know, I respect the fact that you're worrying about that, but I'm looking at it from a practical matter. I've got, I think, people who are proposing the ordinance, I think you have enough votes to get the ordinance
Well,
passed.
yeah,
So-
and that's what my thing is, when we discussed it, it looked
Right.
like we all agree. It's not like we had a rolling quorum, we discussed it here.
Right.
And everyone was like, yes, go for it.
Based upon those discussions, I
So-
drafted that ordinance.
Right,
Yeah.
so I really doubt that that's not gonna pass.
And by the way, the
My
ultimate,
question, though, my concern, as Madam President pointed out earlier in the meeting, what if we wind up having one of these meetings to discuss this ordinance and we don't have a quorum?
Right?
So if we have.
We're gonna have a quorum.
But if we have quorum concerns right now for even like a Thursday budget meeting or like a Monday meeting, because obviously Councilor Perry's not here, Councilor Milbourne's not
Are we all
here.
going to be here Thursday?
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the plan, but I also have 3 small children, so who knows, I could get like measles or something.
4 of us will. 4 of us will.
So,
I mean, we can't keep
Bring 'em
thinking
with
that, though. We can't, what if we don't have a quorum? That's,
Then you keep on calling a meeting till you get a quorum. I mean,
I believe in having money in the bank myself, but
I would agree with Councilor Burk. What's the harm in leaving these here, and then last minute we pull them out because we just passed an ordinance
as long
that.
as we can pull them out.
yeah, we
right?
can.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, up till the last vote, we can pull them out.
All right, that's what I'm getting used to, is that.
I think our biggest concern is the timing, and if,
You can leave it then, and if that's, if you feel more comfortable leaving it as a safety net, that's fine.
I have to find my resolutions, but go ahead.
They're attached to the front of
I
the,
know, I
they're
tore
on
it
the
off.
front of the packet.
can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So I was confused as to number 2. And I know it's been in budgets forever, I guess. All accounts be restricted for their intended purpose and no transfers are authorized out of them except to other municipal accounts in a declared state of emergency.
Capital accounts.
It doesn't,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Capital, okay,
Capital.
got it. That's the word I wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention to, thank you.
And I'm not aware of, I don't know how many capital accounts you have.
Yeah, but no, I read that like
We
5
have a
times and I
couple.
missed that
Yeah.
word.
well, no, they were talking about the capital accounts in the approved budget.
Yeah,
Right, and there used to be a lot.
okay.
Right now.
But now you took them up, because we do
Now
that separately, we do that
Now we're using
offline.
it with the casino
Correct.
money.
So I don't know how many capital accounts we have left, that's my question.
Well, we probably have some loans we're still, some bonds we're still paying on.
But that would be debt service, though, that wouldn't be
That's
That
capital.
would be,
yeah.
There might be some,
there might be something,
we'll-
I don't know. Well, it needs to go in there in case it,
Yeah, I just missed
You
that
have
word
some
capital every
vehicles.
time I read that.
You have 3 vehicles that you're
Okay.
still paying on.
that's what I kind of meant, okay. All right,
so
and,
number, sorry, 3 is this, the revaluation account, which is duplicative of the ordinance, right? So that's
Right.
Assuming the ordinance passes,
Huh?
and we have no
Assuming it
quorum,
passes.
and no
Right.
quorum issues.
all right, so. that
Election
was-
is now 4 is the elections account, same
Yeah,
thing. Paving paving drainage curbing, same.
same,
Pay as you throw, that ordinance is already passed.
right, so we don't need this
Correct.
resolution. And I do not like number 7.
7 is,
Number 7 sets an awful precedence, and this has been brought up.
I don't
Several-
like it the way it reads.
Right, on several budget resolutions, this has been brought up. First of all, we are trying to, first of all, I don't like the maintenance because that's not a one-time thing. We're trying to buy things with the casino money. And first of all, 50% of the revenue is absurd to me.
300 grand.
But if the recreation committee says, well, we want 50% of what we bring in, or if the town clerk's office say, well, we bring in money, I don't like this at all.
Madam President,
Yes.
don't we do this already with the cars for the police department?
We used to, we don't anymore, we
We don't-
stopped that.
Okay.
Yes, we stopped that because we were doing it without the town council's approval. So we stopped that. And for this, because of that, because it was said, no one else got to do that in the past. But I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yes.
Madam President?
Yes.
I did pass out a document that was from the treasurer
This one?
that gave a breakdown of the maintenance for several years and what was actually coming in for billing. So you can see the.
Yeah, so there's a significant difference between what we would potentially take out and what the actual costs are.
Yeah. I just, this goes into the general fund every year, and then we take out what we need to decrease taxes. I think I just think it sets a precedence where we're gonna have a lot of people trying to restrict accounts and taking in their revenue. I think the way we do it is appropriate. That's just my opinion, but this has been tried in the past, and I know that Chris won't agree with this either, I don't think. but we'd have to ask him, but I've had discussions with Chris concerning it.
I think that this has been discussed in the past, and it was prior to us having a casino.
Right.
And I think it was looking for ways to build a capital fund. More so than, I don't recall it ever
Maintenance.
being for maintenance,
No.
but I think more for a capital fund. I
We
do
do
remember
have-
entertaining this.
And we do have a capital fund in a way now, and we
We
also
do,
have more of
we
a
do,
capital fund
right.
too.
We do.
Oh, so municipal,
So we just don't have to move that one forward.
no, we don't.
These are all recommendations by the budget committee, and
Yeah.
you have the final vote.
Joan, don't we have one, so much goes into a capital reserve account?
It's,
Yeah,
these are just
no. Don't we
budget
have a
committee
resolve?
ones.
Are you talking about the casino
Because we
money?
have a capital reserve account besides the casino. We have a town capital reserve account.
It's on that, it's on that one. These are just from the budget
Yeah.
committee this year.
I'm looking at what's missing.
Because we should put that in the ordinance too.
I'll browse this quick and tell you.
It's at the beginning, oh, maybe not. We might want to put that in the ordinance too, Mike, but I don't remember what that is. God bless
Thank you.
So. But
Right.
we have
But
another
that's-
reserved account, capital account.
That's not just a casino money account, though. We created the one for whatever we give the school district and they get reimbursed for.
But we have a separate capital account, don't you remember? It was during COVID before we got the casino money. You might not be around. I don't know if any of you were.
It's, yeah, because I was on the budget committee. It's like 20
Joe
or
was.
25%
Percent of something, what was
of
it?
what was left
but we
over from
have
DPW's, not salaries, but their operating.
That was for paving. That
But
wasn't,
there was some for paving and there was some for
There is another capital account.
There was a
somewhere.
capital, maybe it didn't come from
No,
DPW,
it
maybe
didn't.
it was like
Okay.
total.
Resolved that the town, once all provisions of the charter and accounting requirements are met, should transfer out of the unexpended municipal expense appropriation determined as of June 30th, 25% into restricted paving and drainage, and I think we added sidewalks to that, and 25% into the restricted capital expenditure account, which is 0980-9999.
So instead of going in the general fund, we put some aside.
Because that is what we used,
Goes from the total unexpended municipal.
yes. The percentage went into that, and we used that, we bought some
Yeah.
police cars.
Accounting clerk shall transfer out of the unexpended municipal expense appropriation.
Total.
Appropriation.
Right. So that's total municipal expenses that are unspent.
Right.
So we're not
25.
sure-
What's left at the end of the year?
So 25 of it goes into paving, that's how we increase that account. And 25% into a restricted capital account. And
the
we
rest-
did spend
And the rest
that.
went to the general.
I think that's how we, one of the fire,
Gave us seed
one of
money.
the fire engines, it gave us seed money. Definitely. So do we still want to do that? Because we'll put
Well, that
that,
was one of ours.
that was one of ours.
yeah, we should probably include it, at least for this.
We have
I don't-
it on, yeah.
I don't personally think it's necessary if we've got the,
Well, for the paving,
well, for the paving, yes, but for the capital expenditures, if, you know, I mean, this year we've already decided to spend about $1 million on the municipal side for capital expenditures here.
out of this,
You know, I mean, given the size and scope of the budget, I'd rather see some of those dollars roll forward so that we can utilize them as revenues to offset the increases that we've seen elsewhere in the budget. But that's just my personal take.
yeah, and this was
Yeah.
before we decided to do what we did with the casino.
Well, also, this
Right.
isn't as critical now that we pretty much have a guarantee, if you will, for casino.
Okay, so this would be it, but this one,
Absolutely extraordinary circumstances.
but this one into the restricted paving, we still want that
I
one.
was just gonna say, do that for the paving though?
It's
That's
also
a-
the
that's-
resolution here, right?
It's
No,
in,
it's not in the, it's to roll it over, but it's not to put 25% of the
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? And we did that so we could build that account. Because that, we need to pay for.
So where does it allow us then, because we've had this discussion, replenish that, if you will, when we get grants, so we pay for money out of the casino, not the schools. We pay for money for whatever, I forget what we paid for.
We have a similar, we passed a similar
We
ordinance
did?
on mirror, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
For
for
like
that
the-
purpose.
All right.
For like the
It
police
mirrored the
one.
school one, but it was for
I don't
non.
remember doing that, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, we did.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's what, I don't think we ever did. Yeah. And everybody kept on saying we did, but I don't remember doing that.
So that when we purchased the police cars and we got the rebate, because it was a grant,
Right.
we put that money back into that restricted capital.
Into this capital.
We returned it from where it came.
I think we do have an ordinance that says that. It might not have been included in this.
No, I'm looking at the ordinances right now.
I thought we did the school one after the
We did this
municipal.
one, and I thought we did a municipal one to mirror it.
Yeah, I thought it was the other way around. The
It
school
was
one,
definitely first.
the school one, what, school was done first?
Yeah.
Then we didn't do it.
I don't think we did it then. The school was not done that long ago. We talked about it for a long time before. it
Chris
was
will know
done.
this answer, because I know
It-
he's,
It's not here. Unless this is not up to date, it's not here.
Here's that thing.
well, does any of the town councils have any other resolutions?
I mean, I think just my take would be keep the 25% rolling for paving and then take the other 25% and get rid of it, because we're doing
We're not gonna
CapEx.
have a restricted capital expenditure account anymore.
Well, I don't think that resolution creates the restricted capital expenditure account. I think that exists.
Right, I know that there's something that made this restricted, I don't know whether this was an ordinance or what, but.
I think it just started as
It's a
I think it started as a resolution back in like 2016. My first term on the
So
council.
we may have to
Resolution.
have in the ordinance, make sure we keep that restricted
Yeah.
account at least.
Yeah, because that's where we're putting the grants and all that.
Well, in that case, leave it in there as a safety
For
net.
now, yeah. And then, Michael, we have to include language that allows us to have that, continue with that restricted capital account.
So we'll just keep this resolution on.
But if we keep that account, that restricted account, and we do get rebates because we did grants, we've got a place to put it, right?
Right. Yeah, we need to keep that account.
Agreed.
All right, and then,
We also, I think, need to do that casino amendment to allow us to do the same thing on the town side as we do on the school side.
I swore we did that.
I don't remember us doing that, and we certainly didn't do it after we did the schools.
We did, you're right, Mike, yeah.
I think Town Fair Tire's looking for it.
All right, so number 4, we don't need anymore. That was the safer grant we put on last year. And then number 1 is the industrial park, 25%.
Oh, you're looking at that, okay.
Well, I'm just looking at what we did last
No,
year.
no, I was still looking at the budget. I'm thinking- Yeah, you're looking at a different
Oh, I'm sorry.
document.
I thought we finished it.
I just didn't make the transition.
Yeah, my mind. So, all right, we'll go to the budget just one more time. So everyone agrees that we don't like the budget committee's number 7, or is there further discussion?
I'm fine with not
So
including
we're striking number 6 and number 7, correct?
I don't
Right.
like it for different reasons
Number-
from you, but I don't like it.
Number 6 and number 7, number 5.
Talk to Chris, because I think he may have suggested number 7.
Even if he suggested it, I still don't like it.
But,
it. No, he can argue it when he
Yeah.
gets
yeah,
back.
I think, it may not have been in this form, but I believe.
We're not taking 5
Mr.
right now.
Connor.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
We're keeping 1 through 5 right now.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
will
I'm
come out
talking
if we
7.
pass the ordinance.
Okay. Now, the ones that we had last year is the industrial park. Is there one on here? With regard to the sale of any one group of parcel within the Tiverton Industrial Park, up to and including the entire industrial park, 25% of the proceeds from each sale shall be set aside in restricted accounts used solely for the purpose of developing the park, including but not limited to a town financial match for federal and state grants for development of infrastructure such as utilities or roads, or the professional engineering costs associated with such activities. Funds remaining in this restricted account at the end of June 2022 shall be carried over into the same account for the fiscal year 2023.
And that's where we got some of the money for developing the recycling center.
Yes, the infrastructure of the new recycling center. So, we all like number one, the one I just said, the industrial.
Yes, but update the dates for the appropriate
Yes.
fiscal year.
And then number four, I'll restrike, and then,
Well, 4 is different here.
Different.
Yeah.
You're looking at the new document, the same one that.
Oh,
President's looking at.
4, I'm sorry. I was looking at 3. It's different than the Budget Committee's paving. So 3 here lets us keep that 25%, so we said weren't going to do that.
although we decided we want the 25% to go in.
Into
restricted
restricted
capital.
paving, but not into capital.
I
thought we talked about.
think we leave the restricted capital there as well until we address it,
Yeah.
obviously via
Yeah.
the ordinance.
So we need 3.
Or establish that that account exists in perpetuity for the purposes of money in, money out.
Okay, and the only other one is the open space, which was 25%. Did you want to talk on that?
We'll do it now?
Yeah?
All right.
I want to get resolutions done.
So, as I said earlier, the history of this is back in the 90s. It was established at 60%. And it went for a good number of years before people realized we couldn't do it that way. It wasn't being reapproved properly every year. So a couple of years ago, there was a movement to get it to 0. I managed to get it back to 25%. We've had that for a couple of years. I would like to increase it to 50%, and the reason being, among others, that we could use some of that money to help us with recreation land purchases anywhere in town, but in particular in North Tiverton.
Open space.
Well, see,
It's reserved for open space.
well,
So
we
that money
take
went to
that
the
out.
open space committee.
Hang on, so where did I read the new one?
You couldn't do that for recreation.
Yeah, you can. It depends how, see, open space money is used to leverage grants and to leverage other things. And depending on how the grant is written, you could use that money for that. You could use it to buy park benches and swings and playground equipment, but you can use it to purchase land.
Only if the open space committee says so.
Well, they have to come before us to get permission to spend.
Right, but they don't look for land to make recreation places.
What do you think places
Oh, yeah,
where
you're right.
trails are? That's recreation.
Well, as long as that's what he's talking about. You're not talking about a playground, are you?
It could become a playground.
Oh,
They would purchase the land.
yeah.
Normally, we think of open space as streams and woods and pristine verdant fields, but it doesn't have to be that.
Is there a definition somewhere of what we consider open space, Mr. Solicitor?
It's in the charter as to what the duties and responsibilities are for the open space. It's section 1004.
It's the open space committee that comes to us and asks us for permission. We don't go looking for this.
Right, but we can
No.
provide guidance.
Well, I also had a talk with a
And
couple of people on
finances.
open space, and they saw no reason why we could not do it this way.
I think 50% is too high, but.
Well, I'll take whatever I can get above 25.
But I think that honestly, people are getting tired of all the big builds that are coming and would like to preserve some of the space.
Yeah.
And be able
So-
to use it.
And use it and not have big buildings and,
So you like 50%?
well, I don't know what, yeah, I don't mind 50%, but,
So,
How much revenue does that generate a year?
Well, it depends. This year was a bad year because the casino sold, but normally, 350, 450 in that neck of the woods.
so what the charter says in terms of duties and responsibilities, I won't read the whole thing, but it includes the management of existing lands, the identification and protection of significant natural and scenic resources in the town, ecological or archaeological sites, identification and development of potential nature sanctuaries, greenways, and sites for nature studies, the orderly development and accessibility of open space areas to all neighborhoods.
So pretty broad.
Mm-hmm. There's no specific definition to John's question of what open space means. I was trying to see if the general laws had anything, but it's not easy to.
So does
No, yeah.
anybody
But
want
is
to weigh in?
DEM related specifically to their grant functioning?
do we know what they have now?
Know what they have for what?
How much money they have?
Oh, I don't know. I
You know
don't,
how much money they have?
I didn't bring that with me, because I didn't think we were talking about this tonight. No. Well, like I said, this year, with the casino selling, they got 130,000, just for that.
Yeah, what else did they have?
I think they're around 750,000 now.
I have a follow-on question to that. So let's say hypothetically we go from 25% to 50%. The revenues that come in that don't go to open space ultimately wind up reducing the dollars that we spend, or we could use that money to reduce the budget.
Right.
So, I mean, me personally, I think it's admirable. I think it's a great idea. We should promote open space. I don't know with this budget, we have the wiggle room to restrict additional funds.
I could go up to 35% for now.
I would compromise to 35.
Yeah,
We'll take that.
like I said, it's discussion, and while I would like 50, I will take what I can get over 25.
I'll compromise to 35.
Well, listen,
It
it's
used
the-
to be 60.
If it's the council's pleasure.
To what, Michael?
And John is right. You know, stamp tax revenue is revenue, and anything we take away from that is not. So,
And we're going to need a lot of that revenue.
well, yeah, but
So what do you think about just bringing it up 10%?
you can make that argument every year.
I understand. I mean, but,
It used to be 60
this year in particular, and, this is,
every year.
We say every,
year.
we say
well,
that
we
every
do, but I mean, if you look historically, now this is where we've had, for instance, the school department. I see Dr. Larkin back there, right? I mean, this is the third year where they were looking for 4% increase. So, I mean, we're in a weird scenario with the exceptionally high inflation rates that we're experiencing. We've got all these contracts coming up, and, we're still playing catch up on the school side. So,
So go to 25, go to 25%.
well, it's at 25 right now.
It's at 25.
Well, we were saying 35.
35.
So you wanted
So-
to
Well, go to 25 then.
It's at 25. Stay at 25.
25.
I would rather just stay, but I'll compromise and go to 35, but.
The
What?
The compromise would be 30.
No, he wanted 50.
You
He wanted 50.
I still
So
want
really,
50.
my compromise isn't.
I'm going to have Jay negotiate my next employment contract.
You're going to tell us what's there?
According to the last audit, to the end of 2020, 2022, the current fund balance is $706,000. Revenues for 2022 were $106,000.
And the casino was after that, right, Mike, Dave? Yeah. So they're up to,
Keep in mind, this year was
850.
a stellar year.
They're not spending, but that money can go
Yeah.
fairly quickly if they have a
If they
project.
want
And
to, yeah.
even if we don't increase the amount, I do think we need to be clear that, at least from my perspective, there needs to be a focus on more than just areas south of 24.
Well, I agree with that, and that's why I said it depends on what they suggest. They've never suggested anything different than that.
This number does not include the Valley sale.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
fiscal year '22.
Right, so there's at least 830 or 40 in there. I forget what your numbers were, but
What do you all think?
Well, if I can get 35, I'll ask for 35.
I say keep it at 25.
I mean,
That's my vote.
I would say stay at 25 just because we still haven't looked at the revenue numbers, and we're going to have to strip some money out of the general account. You know, even at 3.53, which is where we're at looking now. I mean, we gotta reduce that number.
Oh, we have to reduce that number.
so we don't need to make a final decision on it tonight, right? On
I
the-
know, but we keep putting off and off.
No, but we can still,
Yeah, but we.
I think we need to see the revenues first. I think we need to see what the revenue numbers are and how much we can strip out of the general account before I would say increase that.
When are we gonna see all this? By third? Yeah,
I hope so.
Dave? Because we need those final numbers.
Yeah.
Dave, come here for a minute. You asked Dave to stay, right, for some reason?
Well, yeah, so I gave everybody this, looks like this, for Dave Robert. So when they do the worksheet, there's a bunch of numbers you have to punch in, which Dave provided. So Dave, can you explain these things and what your role is?
My role is to assess property, and considering the...
Get yelled at by people who are angry with said assessments.
Exactly. But once in a while, they pat me on the back. So that number that you have before you, as far as the total value of the town, that's real estate intangibles. As you all know, hopefully, that we no longer tax motor vehicles. So that's just real estate intangible. And the net value that you're going to divide the budget into to come up with your tax rate is that $2.79 billion number. That's a growth number over last year's, which I don't know exactly what that percentage is. It's less than 0.5%.
20 million.
Yeah, but it's less than 0.5%. So that's what that is. That's new construction. That's people improving their properties with additions, decks, home improvements. And on that memo, you also have a prorated new construction. So that goes into a revenue number. I believe on your document it's $55,000. So over the course of the year, anyone who completes their home after the assessment date of December 31st, we issue a supplemental bill. That's not factored into the levy calculation. As far as dividing it into a tax rate, it is considered revenue. And we are anticipating roughly $20,000 in abatements that we'll issue.
So what final numbers do we need?
So that 2.79 is the final number that you're going to divide into the budget.
Okay.
But keep in mind, when you submit the budget to the state, that will move maybe.
Don't submit the budget to the state. What happens is that once the town approves a budget, then we just certify a value to the state, which is your levy certification. That 2.79 number that you have on there, you'll see in the memo, I do have in parentheses that there might be a slight adjustment. So that may increase slightly, but it's going to have a very small effect on the tax rate.
So just to throw a wrinkle into this,
Don't do that.
there was legislation introduced, I don't know, today or,
Tangible tax?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
That was when you were supposed to be testifying is when it was actually heard, I believe.
I don't, well,
Or it was
So
He's supposed
introduced.
to be tested.
On the short-term
last week.
On the STR bill when I was at the
So
State House.
there was a $100,000 exemption recently put in. So would require cities and towns to have, the first $100,000 would be exempt from tangible tax.
However,
However,
However-
the state agreed, as it's currently written, to reimburse the town
correct,
for that first year. of-
right.
So
So that's
only
a
for
li-
that, very clear. for
That's
the-
so nice of them.
Yeah.
It's very wonky, but yeah, there is a bill that, yes, for the first year, and there is another one that was a 4-year period, and then no payback from the state.
Right.
But I'm not sure if that one, or there is that other one that I'm thinking of, it doesn't take effect until next year.
Well, the 100,000 will take
Is
effect
this year,
budget
for the fiscal year.
And my suspicion is because there was a movement to try to eliminate the tangible tax this year, but I don't
Right.
think they have enough
They don't have
revenue
enough.
to do that. That there is going to be some exemption that we put on.
Right.
And you'll get the revenue for this year, but next year you won't. The lost revenue, you won't. Now, do you have an exemption up to,
We don't.
at all? Okay, so
We
it's-
don't.
East Providence has the first 10,000 would be exempt, so that's just a
So
consideration.
So
to-
that doesn't change this number right now, though?
At this point, it doesn't unless that passes.
Right.
But then again, there's going to be the offset that the state will reimburse us.
Yeah,
We'll
but
see.
we got to stop thinking budget cycle to budget cycle. If the state's changing the rules and giving us a short window,
We got to think ahead.
yeah, we got
Yeah,
to think to
I
we got to
know.
think to FY25 at this point.
Okay.
Let's tonight.
The budget
think of
committee
this.
always did this part of it, the town council never did, so we need some help with this part. Chris, you,
All of us.
Jay, yeah.
Figure out the rate, you mean? Yeah.
Figure out the rate,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the assessor with, once you figure out.
Once
budget.
we figure
It's a-
out,
It's a
okay.
plug-in.
Yeah,
it's just- I
mean,
it's just math.
So
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
here's the one from last year.
It's
this is
Okay.
all right. So we don't need an actual worksheet. The budget that was sent to us by the budget committee, I believe, in that Excel spreadsheet has it where you plug the numbers in. So
Yeah.
with all the calculations there. So well, I don't think we have to do the math by hand.
They didn't have the revenue and all that.
No, they didn't have the revenue.
Yeah, we just got to put it in the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It'll tell us.
All right, so, did everyone look at the budget, the recent one? I think it's exactly what we said, but I just want to make sure. The one that we gave out on Saturday.
5/5/23.
Yeah, 5/5/23. So I think Thursday is going to be the big meeting, when Chris. Yeah, I know, I wasn't going to look at the schools until we get the town together, until Chris comes in and looks at what.
So from a timeline perspective, when do we have to be finalized?
Next month, not
No, the 13th.
13th.
May 13th.
It's a Saturday.
No,
No.
the ordinance, the charter
No,
says
it
if it's a
says-
Saturday, you go to the next one.
Yeah, so it's May
Yeah, the Monday,
15th.
then the
So we have a
Monday-
little bit of time still.
Monday, the final unified budget has to be adopted.
Right.
A preliminary unified budget, subject to the public hearing.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to make a decision on the schools till I figure out if the town's correct
Well,
right now.
I know where we are.
I want to know where we are, and like, you weren't here on Saturday, John, I said that we've given them 4% for for a couple of times now, $2 million. I just want Chris to weigh in on this, to make sure
I mean,
that we haven't cut anything that we need to put back.
Yeah, I mean, even on the muni side though, like we're up 4.66% there.
Right. So that's why I think we need to make a decision as a whole.
And yeah, and
Look at the town, and then look at the schools.
I agree. And then meanwhile, as we're sitting here talking, the state up at the State House is doing everything
Yeah,
they can to cut additional revenues that we can seek. So
It's also talked, they might increase state aid to education too. so-
Yeah, they're talking about that too.
which
by
would
the
be
way.
awesome.
Right.
And the
They
rest.
might increase state aid, they're talking about that too. Well, I know, but every once in a while they do it.
Well, they did it once
Miracles
before.
do happen.
Are they talking about it seriously, or are they?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are talking about that. Somebody called and told me they were talking about it seriously.
Well,
Well, and
the number Mike had on Saturday was like $2,000 more. It's a little, it's a,
Now,
yeah.
And for what it's worth, there's also Rep. Shanley has a bill in too force RIDE to take control over all of the special education spend. So
All right, so I
So wait,
want to,
Jerry,
you shake your head, but I don't know. I get a good feeling about this.
So we had two
Jerry, you
numbers.
thought my
We had
number was
Brian's
wrong?
number and we had the budgets, the governor's budget.
We're looking at,
I was looking at the governor's proposed budget.
no, yeah, I know, but you were looking at the wrong column. It's not a difference of, big difference.
All right, so-
$1,000. And then you actually go back.
while Jerry is here, there's been a big question here, and I talked to Mike Marcello about it today. If there's a decrease in state aid to what we thought it was going to be, some people are under the impression that we make up that amount.
Big sale?
No, that we make up that amount. Now, there was the commissioner,
Have to make up that amount.
that we have to.
I've got the letter here.
No, that's from the commissioner, that never went to court, that never went anywhere. The commissioner said yes, but it never was challenged. And Mike has been doing has been asking some people, do you wanna?
Yeah, so we have a similar problem in another community that I represent, where we're expecting a cut of state aid. And the issue is whether the town has to, or the city or town has to make that up in their local appropriation. And just so happens that the chair of the school committee in Situate is a former CFO of that RIDE, which her name is Carolyn Dias. I think Mike knows Carolyn.
I didn't know she was the chair of the school
Yeah.
committee.
And I had a call with her, and she indicated that, no, that the local appropriation does not have to make up that difference if the state aid gets cut. The local appropriation is limited to the 4% of what you appropriated last year.
Well, and that's
Which makes sense when you think
yeah,
about it.
because you know it's not like if the state just all of a
But the
sudden
school
reduced state
committee
aid to zero, like we would be at like 12% and we'd be breaking the cap.
school committee's under the impression that that's what happens, and it is not.
It depends on when the cut happens. So if we,
I think we're voting on the wrong number. That's what I think the problem is. I think, Mike and I talked about it. We vote on a total number, including what they're predicting they're getting from state aid.
right.
Okay.
Correct.
And that's why people felt that we needed to make up that amount, because we voted on that.
So the two numbers that you have for education aid are local appropriation and then the state and federal aid. And then you add those two together, that's the total.
Yeah, I understand that.
Right.
And that was the meeting you were not at when the superintendent and director of finance were here. That's
Right.
when I was doing the numbers by hand, and I'm like, this doesn't make sense because we're basing it off of a total number, not off of what the local appropriation
So the
is.
law is clear that the local appropriation can't exceed 4% from the previous year. The local appropriation.
Right.
The issue is that if the state aid number or state or federal aid number is cut. for
After
whatever-
the vote,
Or whatever, I don't even care where.
Okay.
I don't know if the timing is an issue, but maybe it is. If that number is cut by, say, $50,000, and you're already at the 4%, you don't have to make up that 50,000.
Well, we can't.
Because we
We'd be
can't.
breaking state law if we did.
can't
Well,
do that.
right.
See, and that's why I think that decision was different, because we weren't there was no cap at that time.
Yeah, the law has changed probably since that.
The law has changed so many
Probably
times.
since
We're not at 4%.
But there's,
I don't think you are required to make up, the statute is clear, you have to make up your local appropriation. You have to at least meet your local appropriation for maintenance of effort. But if the state cuts, now some towns do make up the difference, I'm not gonna lie to you, they do. But if you're legally required to make up the difference, my answer at this preliminary, must still talk to some people, is no. You've got to separate the two numbers.
like, we vote on that number, we don't even have to vote
You don't vote
on
because
the
it's a
state.
revenue number. so,
Right,
yeah,
right, we don't even have to vote on that.
Right.
The total should be just what we're appropriating.
Yeah,
Except
but it
that's
should be
not
for
what's in our
for
budget.
calculation purposes, you should split it out, just so you're
But that's
transparent.
not what's in our budget. When we vote on the whole budget, it includes state
Well,
appropriation.
that's what I'm saying, I don't think we can we don't have to do that.
No, you did.
But that's,
That's pretty sure you did.
Right, Mike?
Yeah.
Say that again, Chairman, what do you suggest? Can you come up? 'Cause you suggest we have to vote on what?
So,
to the microphone.
Might as well come all the way, we don't really bite.
Are you
It's
afraid?
like, Dr. Lucky, you're
All
like
right.
Frogger, row to row.
This is the way I understand it, and I'm speaking only on my own behalf, not the entire school committee's. That if The, you have to vote an entire budget. That's what has to go before the voters. That entire budget includes the appropriation, the local levy for the schools, the levy for the municipal budget, and then the state aid. State aid has always been shifting around when we are adopting our budget. And you use the projection that you have at that time in order to put something before the voters, and then they approve it. Once they've approved it, the town somehow has to meet that budget.
State aid, with the state aid. in
With the
there.
state aid. So let me give you an example. If the state aid, say
Goes to zero.
so the state aid
It
goes,
makes no sense, so then we'd have to give you,
you would have to make up what the state aid is. That's, again, my understanding, and I don't know if there's
Yeah.
litigation or statute or case law that governs here,
We'll
but.
look into the clarification of that. I
Yeah.
understand, I understand what you're saying. I'm not necessarily think that is accurate, but I'm not saying that you're wrong. I don't know at this point.
On the-
It's a
on
question
the-
that needs to be answered.
On the same flip side, if state aid doubles, right?
yeah.
Right.
Is that now our new budget number going forward? Like if all of a sudden we're
No.
at $40 million this year?
No,
Like that's maintenance of effort means that's the question.
If state aid goes up from the projection, that results in a net revenue to the schools.
Yeah.
To the schools.
Okay? I'm just telling you how it's.
No, I understand that. I
It would
just-
go to, assuming you don't spend the extra money, that would go to reserve account for the schools.
Correct, right,
right,
because
right.
once money's appropriated
Right.
education,
We can't get it back.
be.
Once it's in their
Fund
pocket,
balance.
Right.
goes to the fund balance.
If the projection is the same, then everybody's whole. If the state aid goes down from the projection, so say they said it's gonna be $7 million, but it's only $6,500,000 or 6.9, I wanna use nice numbers. So then, and the town has already passed a budget that had a $7 million allocation from state aid, then my understanding is that the $100,000 would have to be made up by the town, because that's what the budget
Yeah, which I
was
understand. I guess
passed.
the question that I would have is that if that decrease in state aid means that now the local contribution, which let's say it was at 4%, and now we have a $500,000 decrease, now that means our local appropriation is backdoored into 5.5%.
No.
We
Right.
just broke state law.
Well,
Yeah.
so this,
Which that's like chicken or the egg,
I think what you
right?
have is a conflict of rules, and you'd
Yeah.
have to sort of sort it out.
Yeah, well, but
In
we're
the
gonna,
courts somehow, I
Mike is
guess.
still working on getting the legal opinion on
Okay,
that.
and I think that's how we ended up with the numbers quandary at that last meeting I was at with the superintendent and
Because you
director of
can't-
finance.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
let me clarify. The 4% says that the school committee cannot ask for
Right.
a
We can
local
give it.
appropriation
We
to
can
be
give it.
below 4%.
But we have to go to the
You-
state.
No, we
No,
can
no,
give
no,
it.
No?
You're confusing two different things. One is just
No.
the local appropriation.
Got it.
the
Okay, never
4%.
mind.
One is the 4% of the total assessment.
Got
That's
it.
different. Those are two different numbers.
Right, so
Same 4%, but different calculation altogether.
if we
Gotcha.
wanted to give them 6%, we'd have to give the town
You'd have to decrease the
0.5%
town,
to
right,
bring
right,
it up
right.
to
Hy-
4%.
hy-
Well,
hypo-
it would also increase our maintenance of effort going forward.
Oh, absolutely would,
Yeah.
yes.
So Mike, question.
Yeah.
When the Commissioner of Education renders a decision, is that a legal decision?
I've heard a lot about this. I don't know what the
Yeah,
date of that decision is. I know that
Oh,
state
it's a
law
long time ago.
and the.
Louise Durfee was chair at the time.
It was 211, and
Yeah.
that's,
So
2011.
we have a funding formula that we have,
Everything's
now we have,
changed.
a lot of things have changed since
I-
that decision's been issued.
I have
Well,
I have a
it's-
hypothetical.
The statute, the question is still, does,
I think it has the force of law until someone litigates it.
Right, but it's 2011.
Yeah.
So many laws have changed since 2011.
So-
I don't know if the 4% cap was in
It
place.
wasn't. The 4% was not.
So-
And the school calculations were different, too.
Yeah, and
The
the
formula
4%
was
was not in.
different.
So, and then the other thing you have to keep in mind, though, when you're talking about the state aid and the funding formula, is that if your state aid is dropping year over year, okay, what the state's telling you is that all of your, sort of property values, your median income, your
Our
poverty
enrollments
rates-
are going down to, all that stuff.
Well, it could be enrollments too, Chairman, right?
It could be
Yeah.
enrollments,
Yeah.
but if it is basically telling you that that the local levy should be higher. If you're,
no.
Not necessarily.
I guess so.
The things that drive the state aid are average income of the residents
Right.
in town,
Right.
the valuation of the town.
That's true.
And
Right.
the number of people, kids in town receiving free
Free and
lunch.
reduced lunch.
Well,
Those
now
are
it-
the three magic things.
Well, now it's
Right.
different, but it's SNAP. It's SNAP, it's not free lunch anymore, but but it also reflects a decrease in the population. So if there's a decrease in the school population, you automatically lose that revenue per kid.
Yes.
And the theory is, I'm just saying this is a theory, the theory is because when you're losing kids, you should be able to cut your budget because you're not educating as many kids. I'm just saying that's a theory, whether you agree with it or not, but that's the theory.
Well, that's a theory, but they don't let us do it.
But the reduction has to be of a certain percentage, and we're not there. So,
Can I,
You never
so,
get there.
for Tiverton's purposes, right now, the population is more or less constant, and the projections are more or less constant in terms of the population of students. So it's those other variables. So if your median income goes up, your poverty rates go down, and your total value of property goes up, then the state's gonna say, you can tax more. If, on the other hand, your poverty rates go up, and your median income goes down and your property values go down, you're gonna get more state aid. That's why something like, I think it's in the 80% of Providence's school budget is state aid,
Yep.
as is,
Exactly.
Central Falls, Woonsocket.
so I have a hypothetical as it relates to the numbers. Let's say, we're ignorant in the literal sense of the word of what the governor's put out there for his budget. And the school committee wanted to be nefarious. Not saying that the school committee is being nefarious, but let's say, the estimate here is we're 6.5 million in state aid, but the school committee puts forward a budget and says we assume $10 million in state aid.
Yeah, but we always look at what.
But I know we always look, but like, and let's say we take that as gospel, what happens there?
Then who knows? I don't know.
Well, see, my concern is.
Right, that cuts in my favor,
Right.
that you wouldn't be able to.
No.
You don't have to make up that difference.
They would
Yeah.
improperly be asking for more than 4%.
No, but suppose they
State
didn't
aid.
improperly. Suppose
So,
state aid did go
right,
down
if we
$2
use-
million.
No, so what else? He's right.
If we used an invalid projection, is what you're basically saying,
Right.
you'd probably have a good case to litigate it. I don't know.
Spend more money on legal fees.
I don't think anybody, I'm speaking for myself. I don't think anybody wants to litigate this and try to,
No.
we're trying to, figure.
No, I'm just saying.
No, we're just trying to
He asked
figure
a
out what the
hypothetical question.
real issue is, or what the real but I do believe that there is a conflict in the statutes, there's no question about it.
Okay.
And, it does beg the question, if the state aid is cut, and and you can only ask for 4%, who has to make up that difference?
Right.
And I do believe, and again, I'm gonna make some more calls, and I'm gonna get from RIDE, and I'll actually have Chris call in, because he probably has some
Yeah,
connections.
well, he was going to, but.
A lot of people have changed.
Yeah, I know. I do, from the person that I spoke to, again, she has not been in RIDE for 5 years now, but the thing is that that the town does not have to make up that difference. I don't know.
And
So
that
if you then
decision
try
was
and
it-
pass a budget based on that,
Huh?
it becomes very hot. If you sort of say, well, maybe the state aid's going to go down, that's highly speculative. If you're
Right.
going to sort of throw out what RIDE's telling us right now, which is what, 6.9 million, something like
So
that.
just, I wasn't at these meetings, but so how much are you projected to lose from last year from?
About
313,000.
370,000.
How much?
I don't have my
313.
papers- I don't have my papers in front of me.
About 300.
313, 353, 253.
Okay, so.
So,
Yeah, but that's not what they're.
Round numbers,
But-
300 grand. They're losing
yeah,
300 grand.
but Jerry, you had said you thought I was looking at the wrong column. So I am looking at the column that says FY 2024 Governor's Recommended Aid for Tiverton, 6923516. Your number is 6920770. It's a small difference, but it is a difference.
Yep.
Is that because?
I think you were included the multi-language learners.
Well, it says the Governor's Recommended Aid, so it does include non-public transportation, multi-language learner.
Yeah, so I don't
It's
think,
really old. I was on the school,
I don't think that is supposed to be factored into it.
I wasn't on the
but
council yet.
It's.
Can you show me where we can find that information, where it's not supposed to be factored in? No, I'm serious. I
Yeah,
mean,
probably not right at the,
by Thursday?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I will,
Okay.
I was going to suggest, Thursday, because poor Dr. Larkin's looking at his phone over here.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Trying to like play catch up with us.
No, we're gonna do this on Thursday. Once Chris gets here, I wanna kind of finalize the town's budget, see where our numbers are, and then make the decision on the school-based. Like, let's see if what we've cut Chris is okay with. We've done a few adjustments now.
Yeah.
He hasn't been president just one of these.
And we also need to know the general fund dollars that we
need to
can
know
pull
that-
from.
Yeah, I have that number. It's at home. I'll bring it. Don't even ask me to remember that.
Is Thursday just budget, or is it going to be other things?
Just
we need to
budget.
do?
Just
Okay.
budget.
They were just doing budget. And Mike suggested that we might have to do Saturday if we don't get through Thursday. Keep in mind, everybody, that's Mother's Day weekend if anybody gets mad. I don't care, but.
You can call Donna.
As part of the school budget, going to be a resolution of the SRO issue?
No, we're
You
just
have that in
gonna,
your budget, don't you?
yeah, we're just assuming that they're gonna pay for
Okay.
half.
And the
like it's
grants will
always
pick it
been.
up.
It's a line item in our budget right now.
Yeah, it's a line
It's a
item.
line item in their budget, and we don't decide their line items.
Hang on,
in
I need to
schools.
keep this.
And we're getting two if we get that grant in.
This, just tangential to that discussion, does the grant cover the school's cost or just the town's costs?
All of our costs.
All of it? Okay. Then let's have two.
Yeah, which is what the original grant.
Right, but
No, I
that's
know.
the only thing is, in 3 years, we have to,
yeah.
okay. Because that's what got us in trouble well, not in trouble, but
So we
School
split
pays
the
half.
cost. We split the cost.
the school pays half. No, but what,
But the
yeah.
grant pays for the whole thing,
The
so.
grant pays for the whole
For
thing.
some period of time and then.
And
Is it
in 3
100?
years.
Find the budget.
Is it like normal, like the safer where it's 100, 75, 75, full
No,
bore?
it's more like, if I remember this correctly,
I thought it was 100.
Okay,
I
great.
think it covered the 3 years, then
yeah.
it cliffed.
Okay.
And
It
it
was a
cliffs, yeah.
So they give us 3 years to casually add more money to the school budget so it doesn't come as
On
sticker
both
shock.
budgets, really.
It gives us
both,
3
yeah.
years to get used to it and
What was I
then
gonna,
not be
yeah,
able
because
to
that's
live
what
with
happened
that,
last
right?
time. That's how this was all decided.
Yeah.
Blakey got us the grant.
But what
I
I'm
was
saying
on
is-
the school committee.
What I'm saying is, like, as we're thinking about this now, we need to start thinking FY '25 and starting to shovel some money aside for that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, we don't get caught when the cliff happens and, you know, we're like Wile E. Coyote and then it's like, oh, where'd the road
Yeah,
go?
Thursday is just this, Jerry, and I've got Chris like looking at this week, and we're gonna make more, I think we're gonna make a lot of final decisions on Thursday, but we may have to go to another meeting. If we really don't have to send it until Monday, we could make a Monday night
Sunday.
meeting.
I
We've been
don't
doing
think so.
Saturdays.
I don't think so.
What time on Monday does it have to be in?
12,
By
Midnight.
midnight?
Do it on the Monday night then.
Well, okay, we'll talk about it.
Well, we have to,
We have
We
to
have to
post,
it.
so I have to post on Thursday
but we could,
before 7.
yeah, post two, and
Both
then,
is Saturday and a Monday.
right, and if we don't decide Thursday not to do one of them, we
Okay.
just cancel it.
Yeah.
So I'm doing
Sat,
Thursday
Thursday,
at 7, Saturday at 9,
Yeah.
and Monday at
I'm
7.
getting really sick of you people, but yeah.
Okay, we can do it.
You can always post them and cancel what you don't need them.
Right.
it's always better than posting.
Yeah. Because we've done that before with
Oh,
the
yeah.
budget committee where at midnight, Nancy
Oh.
was on vacation and
Yeah.
I had to stamp in
We were handing in a, yeah,
and say, oh, yeah.
we didn't do
So
that.
I just, Dr. Luckman, I don't want to, I'm assuming that your committee believes that we do have, when I say we, the town has to make up that difference if there's a cut in state aid. And if you don't have the answer,
So
that's fine.
that has always been my understanding. I don't know what the rest of the committee
No, I
thinks.
think Deb Polish has.
But
has
that,
argued
that,
point.
and I think that's actually happened in the past too, if you look at different.
2011, yeah, was when
Okay,
it really
yeah.
happened.
So,
Right.
and again, it depends on when the vote is, you know, when the state aid number comes in, because if it comes in after the budget's been passed in Tiverton, then you can't,
Oh, we could
it's
always
too
wait.
late.
Well, that's why we've done this new, the dates are being brought back.
We have until
Like-
June 30th to finally adopt the budget.
Right.
So we could, the budget should be done.
Right.
This year at least.
This year.
Because that was the problem in the past. In May, we were making these decisions and we didn't have any real,
Yeah, although
So-
the consequence of that is that then the schools are shorted even, you know, it just increases our structural deficit. If say the, say the state aid drops even more,
And we put the actual number
and
in
then
here.
you
Yeah.
take that into account, you're just creating a larger structural deficit.
Yeah, but it's
and you're
more
losing
accurate
more-
for
Well, it's,
accounting purposes.
yeah, but.
Well, of
but-
course, should have been cuts to eliminate a structural deficit, right? That's what would happen.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Cuts.
Yeah.
And again.
Or bake
the-
sales.
There are still, what's not getting cut are the students.
No, I understand.
So-
I'm just,
so
I'm
they're-
not taking a
they are
position. I'm,
getting cut.
I'm not, that's not my role. I'm just saying that that's how you deal with structural deficit, are cuts.
Correct.
And you do have 1.5 million
In reserve,
in reserve,
something like that, yeah.
yeah, and in the fund balance.
But
All right.
I will
that's-
say.
I don't
from the-
think we should be pinning Dr. Larkin
Yeah.
for hard
No, no,
numbers.
no,
He's
no,
not-
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Well, and that's to, even if we got 4% and the state aid is what it is, we're still having a structural deficit in order to maintain a level
Because you're
service
taking from the
budget.
fund balance and putting it there.
Correct.
But anytime you take from the fund balance, that is a structural deficit, because it's a one-time revenue.
Right.
Right.
Right, but that fund balance, yeah, okay.
But I think from being on the budget committee, we were always under the impression that if state aid got cut, and I don't remember having a conversation, if it was earlier or later in that season, that the town had to make that up. I never really
Because the
thought
voters
through.
have already passed the budget, that's
Well,
why.
I can tell
Right,
you, we
and-
had a lot of discussions, and that was the
But
understanding.
that was the understanding.
I
But-
never knew that.
I
And
never-
I don't think it was like that when I was there.
And I never really thought about the consequences of, then we could be, way over 4%.
Well, we never were. but-
No, we never were, but that was always my understanding on the budget committee.
All right.
To be honest, I don't think that those who created this whole rigmarole thought about the consequences either. So,
Right.
otherwise we
Right.
wouldn't have these conflicting
I can
statutes.
put this to bed now. All right, I'm gonna stop this for now.
Love it.
We'll do it on Thursday. I'd like to entertain a motion. Oh, no.
Are we gonna go into? We're gonna,
Wait a minute.
No, we got a
So-
contract.
No, the contract, we're gonna table that until we come out of executive.
Yep.
Okay.
So I want to entertain a motion to go into executive, Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 42465A, 2, collective bargaining, ASME, update and proposed 3-year contract, July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, and Solicitor Marcello, Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation regarding retention of special counsel for charter violation complaint filed on April 21st, 2023 by Albert Miranda, 150 Capitol Circle.
So moved.
second, yes.